Hello everyone. Welcome to another part of What If Deku ran an orphanage. If you enjoy the story, please like, subscribe, and share the video. It really helps me out. I did not write the story. The original writer is Kyodon. Please go support them. Now let us dive in. Damn, this guy is annoying. Thought stopped sight as he and Dog Pound searched for Aizawa through the smoke. This was supposed to be a simple mission. Keep Eraserhead from stopping Staro's assault by killing him. With his quirk and Dog Pound's power, this should have been simple. But that damn knockoff ninja just had to be difficult and hide in a smoke screen. Seriously, how many smoke bombs did that guy have? Just come out. Dog Pound demanded. Sure thing, man. Shouted Present Mike somewhere in the smoke. Both their eyes widened as they quickly realized what was about to happen but couldn't do anything about it. Yeah, hi. Back in the arena with more forces to work with, the Uncontrolled managed to get a foothold on the battlefield. They created a center surrounded by a field of Mineta's balls and Bondo's glue, as well as a short wall of Todoroki's ice to make cover and stall anyone who came close. Izuku was shooting at anyone who had a useful quirk, getting rid of their starfish and bringing them to their side, while Bakugo and Uraraka knocked back anyone who got close, and everyone else did their part, either fortifying their defenses, hitting back people from afar, or knocking back anyone who got too close. Damn it, can anyone do a thing to that fucking oversized seafood? Bakugo asked. Round face, can't you make that thing lighter or something? Not without using more power than my body could handle, Achiko said before her eyes widened. Wait, Izuka, give me that crystal. Izuka nodded and threw her the fractal without question. Achiko clutched the fractal and took a deep breath. Alright, here goes nothing. Full cowling, 100%. Pink electricity covered Achiko's body and her hair rose up as the power coursed through her body. And boy did it hurt. Achiko could feel the power tear apart her muscles and insides, and while the fractal healed the damage quickly, it did nothing to dull the pain. Despite this, she knew what had to be done and dashed out of the makeshift shelter so fast that no one could see her move. In no time at all, she reached Staro and touched it with her fingers. The power of One for All enhanced her quirk, allowing her to make the extremely heavy Staro completely weightless. Empty Lady. Now. Lift it. Empty Lady felt the weight lessen and knew this was her chance. She pressed her hands against the ground, cracking the concrete as she pushed against the ground to push herself up. Slowly but surely, Empty Lady started pushing herself and Staro up, but Staro kept its grip on the ground via its suction cups. But that wouldn't be the case for long, as Netsu saw this and blasted its arms with fire, burning them off and allowing Empty Lady to spring up, freeing herself of Staro's trap. Get lost? Empty Lady shouted as she tossed the weightless Staro into the air, leaving it completely defenseless. Finally, Netsu yelled as he rapidly charged up his quirk, using every bit of power he had to finally put an end to this thing. Netsu's fire turned white as he aimed his hands up at Staro. White. Hot. Hell. Boom. A wave of white-hot fire shot out of Netsu's hands with a deafening roar in the form of a huge burning beam. The last thing Staro ever saw was white as the beam pierced through its center like a bullet through paper. Netsu's beam pierced the sky, putting an end to the star-shaped threat. Release. Achiko quickly deactivated her quirk, allowing the corpse to crash into the earth. She quickly deactivated her quirk and collapsed from the pain, drifting off into unconsciousness. Hoo-hoo. Yeah. All the remaining fighters cheered, celebrating their victory as all the mind-controlled people came to a stop. And then they started going berserk. Suddenly every mind-controlled person started wildly flailing about, hitting anything around them, including themselves, and using their quirks wildly. The fighters looked at the chaos with wide, disbelieving eyes. No, I thought taking out the main one would kill them all, but it was just keeping them in control. Izuka shouted out in horror. Everyone! We need to restrain as many people as possible. Got it, boss? Shouted Sori's voice from out of sight. Slam! 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 Suddenly every mind-controlled person was stuck in quick succession, knocked unconscious in mere seconds. Once again, everyone looked up in disbelief as Sori appeared in front of Izuku, holding the Chaos Emerald. Done. What the fuck? Bakugo said simply. Giza brought all the children aside from Ken, Sanson, Mu, and Netsu outside the stadium, easily incapacitating any mind-controlled civilians that they came across until they reached the outside of the stadium where they found Ken, Momo, Jiro, and the rest of the civilians who had evacuated. Ken. Nara immediately ran forward and hugged her brother, glad to see he was okay. Thank goddess. I was worried you'd do something stupid and get yourself killed. PFT, no way I'd get offed by an overgrown starfish, Ken said confidently. It is good to see you are all unharmed, Giza said as he brought the rest of the group together. He turned his attention to Momo and Jiro. I do hate to burden you, but could I ask you to watch over these children for a short while? There is something I must take care of. We're kinda on our last legs here. Jiro pointed out as she held onto an exhausted Momo. I merely need you to keep your ears open, Giza said as he turned the other way. The rest will be taken care of. With that, Giza ran off, back towards the arena. All while a cloaked figure watched from within the crowd of people before turning his gaze towards the still unconscious Kiba. Gentle and Shinigami were at a standstill. Shinigami was in a defensive stance while Gentle stared her down, looking for openings. You're far more formidable than your reputation would lead people to believe. Shinigami praised while stalling for time. To think someone who could give me trouble in a battle would spend his days robbing small convenience stores. How I spend my time is of no matter to you. Gentle told her harshly. All that matters is that you remove your illusion and free my la dash. Boom. Their conversation was cut short as Netsu had burnt a hole through Starro, killing the monster. Shit. Shinigami thought as she looked down at Midoriya, who was very much still alive. Well, that was a bust. Although, she looked over at Gentle, who was now distracted by the death of the beast. I should be able to get away and kill Midoriya now that I'm not being shackled by holding up that illusion. Shinigami quickly activated her quirk. Illusion, allowing her to manipulate light in an area to project illusions over an area. She'd been using this quirk to make it appear to the people outside that the arena wasn't under attack, but now there wasn't really a point. She made herself completely invisible while leaving a fake doppelganger to trick Gentle. Shinigami attempted to run off the side of the arena to jump down and make her way to Izuku. However, as she jumped off, Giza flew up and kicked her in the jaw, knocking her back up onto the top of the arena and breaking her illusion. Gah! Shinigami slid back as Giza landed on the top of the arena. So you finally show yourself. Given you were about to assassinate my benefactor, it would be inconsiderate for me not to show myself, Giza said as he put his hands behind his back and took a relaxed stance before looking to Gentle. I must thank you for keeping her occupied, otherwise I may not have been able to stop her before she moved location. No. If anything, you have my apologies. A gentleman should finish his own business in a timely manner. Something which I have failed to do. Gentle gave him a polite bow. If I may, I'd like to ask you for your assistance in punishing this woman for harming my dear La Brava. Gladly, catch. Giza swiveled around and kicked the air, hitting a cloaked Shinigami and sending her flying toward Gentle. Gentle made the air in front of him elastic, which Shinigami bounced off of back towards Giza. Shinigami took out her shorts and slashed at Giza as she flew towards him, but he caught her hand stopping her slash and threw her around and into the ground before kicking her in the specific part of the arm, forcing her to release the blade. Shit. I need to get away. Shinigami activated her quirk and made it appear that more foot ninjas had run up the wall and come to attack Giza, who was keeping her pinned. Gentle was about to rush over to help, but Giza gave him a look that told him to stop. The illusionary soldiers struck at Giza, but of course they did nothing but pass through him. Your illusions will not work on me, Giza told her. Your plan ends here. Stomp. She was close, so close. So close and so weak. If he could just get close to her, then he could do what he came here for. But that was a big if. She was surrounded by her adoring fans who were currently body-blocking him from reaching her, and she had all her extremely powerful siblings around her. He might have been able to get in a sneak attack if it weren't for that Jiro girl. She was already giving suspicious looks in his direction, likely hearing the subtle clang of his blades under his cloak. If he acted, he knew she'd hear him and alert the others before he could strike. Stain was not a greedy fool like the fake heroes he slayed. He'd managed to kill quite a few fake heroes during the chaos of today's event, and he'd have to be content with that. Kiba would be safe yet another day, it seemed. But for how long? Niza looked over the ravaged arena with a glint of disappointment in his eyes. Aizawa was using his quirk to remove the starfish from the reaming vitamins' faces while other heroes cleaned up the damage left behind and escorted any civilians out. Today was supposed to be a good day. A day where the students could show off their hard work and gain connections within the hero world. But instead, his students spent the day either under the control of villains or fighting for their lives. If it weren't for Midoriya, someone likely would have died. This could not stand. Nizu would not take this lying down. Mark my words. The League of Villains. The Meta Liberation Army. The Foot. You will regret this one day. I swear it. Nizu thought as he walked off. Overall, this attack had far fewer repercussions than the last one. The house was nowhere near as damaged, so in the span of merely a week, everything was good as new. No one had gotten all that injured, and most of the children seemed unaffected mentally, if not a bit shaken. Jin hadn't even noticed the attack at all, having slept through the whole thing. The only outliers were Kiba and Niz. Kiba was mostly just upset about her being incapacitated during the entire attack, but Niz seemed off. She seemed frustrated and a bit scared, and Fuku told her that she'd see her jump at seemingly nothing. But that was something he would handle later. For now, he had three things that called for his immediate attention. Namely, his guest in front of him. Izuka sat behind his desk in his office with Chol and Sai beside him. And in front of him was none other than the Prime Minister of Japan, Puramyo. She looked rather good for a woman at the age of 75, with only a few wrinkles on her face, and she wasn't super thin under her suit, but her age showed in her gray hair and her squinting eyes behind her glasses. "Hello, Miss Prime Minister." Izuka greeted with a bow. "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance." Yes. Pura said dismissively. "Mr. Midoriya, I don't believe I need to tell you why I'm here, correct?" Izuka sighed. "You're here about the reports you got on my fractal and chaos emerald. A woman with speed that rivaled All Might holding a bright gem. And a crystal that would heal anyone who touched it as if it were giving them a healing quirk. I can't imagine the government wouldn't be interested in that. Although I didn't think the Prime Minister herself would be coming to greet me. I've already looked into what we know about fractals and the emerald," Pura told him. "And fired the people who dismissed Ms. Jikin when she stumbled upon the discovery of the century and failed to report this to me. But I'd like to ask you, what exactly have you been doing with that lab, Mr. Midoriya?" "A lot and not enough," Izuku explained. "We found out so much about chaos energy, that's what we're calling energy by the way, and yet there is still so much to be found and so much to do. Its potential is nearly endless, and once we can find a way to produce it without relying on Mu, it'll be an absolute game changer. The fractals are just fractions of their potential. Soon chaos energy will run the world. And since you control it, so will you." Pura deduced. "To think this opportunity could have been ours. But nonetheless, I trust you know what needs to happen next. You want access to my research as well as the things made from it," Izuka said. "But unfortunately for you, you lack the power to simply take them as they are all private property. Given your recent unapproved use of them in public, it could be argued we have the right to confiscate them," Pura argued/threatened. "Incorrect. The Chaos Emerald is not, by definition, a weapon. Neither is a healing fractal. Nor are they quirks, so there are no laws against being able to use them in public," Izuku retorted. "But according to what little we have of Ms. Jikin's notes, quirks and fractals operate of the same energy and do very similar things. So it could be argued that they are an illegal use of quirks," Pura contended. "Not to mention the definite use of the quirks by your children during the attack. If you recall, MT Lady said that she gave permission for my children to use their quirks," Izuka reminded her. "And we have several witnesses backing this up. Heroes can only give permission for people to use their quirks in such a manner if those people are hero students," Pura corrected. "Which your children are not." "Incorrect. Heroes can give permission for normal people to use their quirks in dire situations," Izuku added. "Of course, whether or not the situation was dire and if the given permission was necessary will be later judged by the Hero Public Safety Commission, but I think myself and the public can agree. There is no way that situation couldn't be considered dire. Those permissions still do not allow the use of quirks to harm others," Pura said. "Other people. Netsu only hurt that starfish, and there is no proof of any of my children having harmed a person during the attack," Izuka told her, getting frustrated at this point. "Look, you have nothing significant to use against me. So here's what we can do. We can either work together and come upon an agreement that benefits us both, or you can keep trying to get one over on me and make me angry. And I assure you that won't do you much good." Pura glared at Izuku. "TCH, fine, what is it that you want?" Izuka smiled. "Thank you. Now, as for what I want." It was about time Izuka decided that the lab had a dedicated room for important meetings. And so now he and the scientist were in one of the plain white rooms, sitting along a long rectangular table with Izuku at the front. Things were rather tense as all the scene sits except John gave him nervous and somewhat sympathetic looks. "Now," Izuka started, "I'm sure all of you can figure out to some extent why we are here. Guessing it has to do with the massive attack that just happened." John, as opposed to everything, didn't seem too concerned. He was still taking everything seriously, but he was far more relaxed. "That's right." Izuka nodded before taking a brief pause. Now, before this, I was willing to just do everything I could to keep my family safe, but this has shown me that that is not enough. They won't let us be. They will take every opportunity to attack us, no matter who gets hurt. And they will make our lives miserable. So long as my enemies remain free, my children won't be able to leave the grounds of the Foundation without risk of something like this happening. This is unacceptable. This cannot be allowed. And so, I can't stop at just defending us anymore. I need to attack. I need to crush my enemies if I want my children to be safe. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. It was then that Izuka took two things out of his pocket, a cork-erasing bullet and a vial of blood. The best way to defeat your enemies and defend yourself is to amass power. Izuka continued, putting the bullet down on the table and lifting up the vial. What I have here is power. Unrefined, absolute power. This is Aries' blood. As you all know, Aries' quirk allows her to return things to a previous state, in whatever way that entails. She could erase your memories, heal your wounds, turn into a child, and erase you entirely. And even revert a person back to an evolutionary state before humans developed quirks. Which is why her blood is a key ingredient to making this quirk-erasing formula. It's also the key to our plans. Sir, do you want to mass-produce this formula? Mai asked, looking very unsure of this concept. Not quite. Izuka shook his head. While I would like to have some quirk-erasing bullets on hand, the quirk-erasing formula is not a key part of my plan. And what exactly is this plan, sir? Dr. Hikari asked. Izuka took a deep breath and got ready to explain. First, we need to find a way to replicate the effects of Aries' blood without actually having to use Aries' blood. This will make Aries' life significantly easier and allow us to move on to step 2, using that to create a drug that can cure nearly anything. Everyone's eyes went wide at what Izuku just suggested, as the implications of what such a drug could do and the effect it could have on the world would be enormous. I'm not a scientist, but this should be possible, correct? Izuka asked them before he continued. If all quirks come from chaos energy, and if we can produce a way to create chaos energy, then we should be able to create the effects of her blood, and that should allow us to create the cure-all. Right? The room went silent as everyone started to calculate the plausibility of this in their heads. Well, we have developed a blueprint for something that can produce chaos energy, so if we can find a way to turn that pure chaos energy into something like Aries' unique chaos energy, then we should be able to create something that could replace her blood as an ingredient, Mai explained. And if we can do that, then in theory we could create this cure-all. So it's possible? Izuka asked them. As far as we know, John spoke up. There's still a lot of big ifs in the picture, but it doesn't sound impossible. But if it is possible, we're talking about something that could change the world as we know it. Uchi pointed up. Yeah, the entire drug and medical world would be turned on its head. And who knows how many businesses would go bankrupt. Futaba pointed out. And even more people lose their jobs. Izuka nodded solemnly. I know, and I have a plan for that too. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can think of at the moment. At the very least, it will save millions if not billions of lives. That is true, but that does worsen the problem of overpopulation. Dr. Hikari brought up. Not that I'm in any way opposed to saving all those people, it's just that's another issue we'll have to worry about. Not to mention, how exactly are we going to distribute this drug across the world? As much as I would love to simply give it away, at the end of the day we at least need enough money for this project to sustain itself. And if we charge for it, then there's no guarantee that everyone who needs it will get it. Not much I can do about that, but either way, we're going through with this, Izuka said. So, after we produce this drug, obviously we won't have to worry about money anytime soon, not to mention this also allows me to gain favor with the public, which opens up plenty of doors for us. And as for all the people who will end up employed, well, the only solution for that is to hire them myself. Some of them will be responsible for mass-producing the drug, but most of them will go into my other big project, involving Project Seed. If we can produce chaos energy reliably, then we can grow products that are unlike anything else. And do things unlike anyone else. What those things are will depend on what we can grow, but no matter what happens, I don't think I need to tell you just how much we can make with this. Combing this with the drug, you could be the richest man on the planet. Futaba whistled. Boss, what are you planning to do with all this money and power? A few things. Firstly, as Dr. Hikari pointed out, not everyone will get access to this drug. Particularly places without free healthcare like America. Izuku's expression shifted into that of disgust for a moment. And much as hate it, I can take advantage of that. While I can't give the drug out to everyone that needs it, I can give it to a few, useful individuals. People who will be extremely grateful for my help. Everyone looked a bit uneasy at that. Well, it's not like we can fix that problem either way, so might as well take advantage of it, I guess. John shrugged. That's just the way it is, some people will always be unlucky. You got that right, Futaba said, looking rather dismayed. All right, now that I've told you the plan, here's what we're going to do, Izuku said, sifting to his final point. First things first, we have to focus on creating chaos energy. Once we do that, I want your focus to be on creating that blood substitute and finding out if the cure-all is plausible. But don't start development of it until I tell you to. Once I have confirmation, I'm going to ask various other parties to pitch in on funding this research. With something like this, people will be tripping over themselves to have their names attached to this. The good PR they'll get will offset any money they may have actually put into the project. So not only will I get to save some money, they'll be in my debt. That's actually pretty clever. Mai pointed out. Bara, keep focusing on Project Seed. I want you to experiment with as many different kinds of plants as possible, Izuku told Uchi before looking over to Futaba. Akira, I heard you were experimenting with making portals into other dimensions. Kinda? It's mostly making a portal into the cognitive world. Futaba explained. I see, do you think that sort of research could help us learn more about portals and warp quirks in general and maybe how to stop them? Izuku asked. Well, that's not really my area of expertise, but probably, Futaba answered with a shrug. To be honest, I'm kinda stumped on certain parts of the project. Maybe we could bring in someone who specializes in wormholes or something. Noted. Izuku nodded. I want to find some way to stop villains from warping into the facility. That's gonna be a tough one, Futaba muttered. I would also like to drastically increase the personnel working around here, Izuku said. As of now, we have far too many scientists working on our various projects, forcing us to pick and choose a select few projects to work on at a time. It limits us by quite a bit. Find people you can trust in any way you can. It was then that everyone started to consider how to do this. Colleges, students, old friends, there were a few options if they went out of their way. Another thing, I need you to find a way to extend the range in which Yami can absorb negative emotions, Izuku asked. Since he can't go outside, he can't absorb as much energy. This is a big issue for obvious reasons. So you want us to create some kind of emotion vacuum or amplifier? Futaba mused. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to increase our work staff for all this. I'm sorry for asking so much of you, Izuku said. But it's all necessary to protect the future of my kids. We understand, sir, and it's the least we can do for all you've done for us, Mai reassured him. We will do our best, sir. One last thing, and again I'm sorry for asking a lot. Izuku then reached into his sleeve and pulled out a jar containing one of the starfish from back at the arena. I'd like you to analyze this. Isn't that one of the things that attacked the sports festival? John asked. Is it okay for you to have that? It is now, Izuku told them before taking out his phone to look at the time. Oh, sorry, I have to be somewhere to be soon. So then everything is in place. Nizu and Izuku were currently in the private room of a very high-class restaurant enjoying some steaks and salads. Once everything is finished, I'll have the power to do whatever I want, Izuku said, not liking how sinister that sounded. And enough money to buy a country. Good. I always knew you had incredible potential, Mr. Midoriya. Nizu praised. Combine that with your peculiar luck and you have something truly special. So long as the right people help out along the way. Now, let's celebrate our plan to destroy the Foot, the MLA, and the League of Villains. Izuku gave his food a sad, longing look and sighed. I don't get it. Why does nothing ever go the way I want when all I want to do is help people? I wanted to be a hero and I ended up quirkless. I want to quietly raise children and mind my own business. Suddenly powerful organizations are coming out of the woodwork to try and kill me. The green teen looked at his reflection in his glass. Aunt Mitsuki was wrong. I have changed a lot. I don't think I've ever felt this angry before. He shook his head. Sorry, I'm just Ash. It's okay to be dissatisfied, Nizu assured him. Being cruel is not in your nature. Unfortunately, if you want to do anything of note in this world, good or bad, cruelty is required. Izuku looked deeper into his reflection, noting the malicious look in his eyes. I know. Don't worry, I won't let it stop me. Anything that tries to ruin my children's future must be destroyed. Damn it. This was nothing but a miserable failure. Redestro shouted over a video call with All for One and Karai. Oh, you think so? All for One asked, seeming unbothered. I'd say that while things didn't go the way we wanted exactly, we got some rather decent results. Indeed, we took some losses, but so did Midoriya. Karai agreed, looking a bit miffed but not nearly as furious as Redestro. Although now I will have to go through the trouble of freeing Shinigami. What are you two talking about? Redestro barked. All for One sighed. Come now, are truly so blinded by your own fury that you don't see that we made Midoriya show his hand. Those crystals, they possessed an unbelievable power, one that we were not prepared to face, Kurai said. We cannot face Midoriya head-on, that much is clear. First, we must acquire information about those crystals and how we can acquire them. Until then, attacking Midoriya is a suicide, especially now that the heroes are angrier than ever and will be looking for any clue they can find on us. I'd recommend keeping your head low, because if we're dragged into the light, then that will be our end. Hey, Futaba here. So there was this big attack that happened recently and the boss is not happy. Like he's a really nice guy, so it's not like he was being a jerk or doing anything bad, but he's really on edge. And now none of his kids are allowed off the grounds. But he still wants Yami to absorb negative emotions, so he wants us to find a way to do that. So the first thing we gotta do is figure out exactly how his quirk works. For this, we've put Yami in an observation chamber for a night. This chamber is equipped with chaos energy monitors, so we'll be able to tell exactly when and how Yami gains more chaos energy. And now we wait. Oh yeah, forgot to mention, since he needs someone to absorb negative emotions from, I'll be sleeping on the floor in front of his chamber. Oh, what I do for science. Geez, talk about backbreaking efforts. I can't wait to go home and get a massage from Ren. Feels like I'm walking around with a bag of rocks on my back. Ugh, anyway, the results of this test were pretty helpful. So, I saw the chaos energy flowing in from his heart into a special organ in his stomach which seems to store the black chaos energy. Note that I say store, not convert or create. The negative emotions seem to get converted into power by something else inside him, around or inside his heart to be specific. So that means I need to get a look inside his heart. Yeah, the boss is gonna love this. Okay, thankfully we managed to get a good look at the inside of his heart without dissecting him. The answer? Nanomachine's son. Oh, I'm so happy I had a legit reason to say that. Tick that off the bucket list. Anyway, we put some nanomachines into his water and had them circulate throughout his body, giving us a good look at his insides. Don't take that out of context. So, we managed to get a good look at the process Yami's quirk goes through to give him energy. It's hard to trace, but it seems negative emotions are absorbed into the skin and seep through his blood vessels into his heart, where they are then made physical and fused with chaos energy, which then goes into his stomach organ. As much as I'd love to focus on the process of turning emotions into physical energy, right now I need to focus on his skin. Now, after taking a small skin sample, I can see that the chaos energy clinging to Yami's body is a bit different from the chaos energy found in his grim. I think this chaos energy might be able to attract negative energy. I think the best way to test this would be using the Chaos Emerald. I'm just gonna hand it to him and see what happens. If there's any difference in his chaos energy absorption rate. Okay, there was a difference all right. So Yami's negative energy intake just exploded. Not only did his absorption radius increase, but so did the number of negative emotions he absorbed from a person. In short, he absorbed all the negative feelings and emotions from our bodies, actually getting rid of them and putting everyone in the lab in a state of euphoria. Let's just say I'm glad I work with good people, otherwise some shenanigans would have occurred. Anyway, back to the experiment. During the test, the chaos energy on Yami's skin expanded into some kind of invisible field, massively extending the range in which negativity was absorbed. Given how far the normal radius for Yami's absorption reaches, this field likely allowed him to absorb negativity from the edge of the city even while still in the lab. Fortunately, it seems like the unexpected fun time only happened to us in the lab. Although the people at the main building did report feeling a bit lighter, emotionally that is. So it seems that my goal is going to be finding a way to expand Yami's chaos energy and negativity absorption field without giving everyone nearby a happy ending. Mai knows more about chaos energy than I do, so I'm gonna ask her for a little bit of help here. Project Contamination. This is Myru Jikin reporting on Project Contamination. The point of this project is to find a way to convert pure chaos energy into what we're calling impure chaos energy. To explain, impure chaos energy is chaos energy that's somehow become more defined than normal chaos energy through exposure to other elements. Pretty much everyone possesses impure chaos energy, whereas Jin is the only one to have pure chaos energy. Impure chaos energy is what allows us all to use the unique abilities known as quirks. Now, chaos energy is very volatile and it's actually hard to keep pure. Simply exposing it to the air can cause it to become somewhat impure, which is why fractals are different from chaos emeralds. Fractals aren't able to contain and insulate chaos energy as well as chaos emeralds, so their energy becomes impure, limiting their abilities, while chaos emeralds are just pure power. So then how do we control this corruption in order to replicate different kinds of chaos energy? Well, quirks are somewhat hereditary, so my guess is that DNA can heavily affect chaos energy. So what if instead of exposing a fractal to air while it's being filled with pure chaos energy, we filled it with something containing DNA? And so I have 3 samples. One fractal will be splashed with a bit of Yami Midoriya's blood, another will be slathered in his saliva, and the last will be in a tank of his urine. I'll wait until the fractals are full and see what happens. Okay, so there were 3 results, all of which were successful on their own. They all managed to obtain Yami's chaos energy, but varying degrees of power. I had Futaba test all 3, and it seems that the urine fractal has the lowest absorption radius, while the blood fractal had the highest. Although the blood fractal still had a smaller radius and weaker pull than Yami himself. This is actually a good thing because it means that Yami can absorb negative emotions by just getting close to the fractal. Anyway, I'm going to call this project a success. Project intake continued. Alrighty then, so it took a bit of time and a lot of help, but I managed to find a way to make this negativity absorption machine. Firstly, we need to place several machines around the city with the explicit purpose of absorbing negative energy. These machines will make use of a fractal to absorb negativity around them as well as other fractals to amplify its power. These machines will all be connected to one massive crystal which will suck up negative energy from all the other fractals via tubes, focusing it all on the chaos energy that the fractals collect into one larger fractal which Yami will then pull from whenever he likes. Although it'll take a lot of time to actually make any of this. Just getting that many fractals charged full of energy is gonna take weeks, not to mention how long it'll take to build everything. But hey, what can you do? I did everything I could, I just gotta wait for everything to get set up now. Project Starfish. Hey there, Professor John Hatta here, with a rather interesting side project. While I was waiting for the Chaos Engine prototype to start its growth, I decided to do some analysis on that starfish thing Mr. Midoriya brought, and boy was it strange, to say the least. First of all, its DNA is all over the damn place. I obviously found some starfish DNA, but its DNA belonged to humans. And I'm not suggesting this thing is some kind of hybrid, rather, it's like some kind of mishmash of different creatures all forced together. What's even weirder is that once I got a tissue sample, I noticed it was entirely made of dead tissue, despite it obviously being alive. It's like a little Frankenstein's monster. Both are fascinating and utterly disturbing. I tried finding the sources for all the different DNA samples, but I got no luck. It's all too deformed for me to get a good idea of where it came from. My only guess as to how this thing was made was someone mashed up a bunch of dead bodies and revived them somehow. No idea how though. As I said, fascinating but disturbing. Putting that aside, I decided to do some behavior studies as well as get some brainwave samples. And honestly, it acted a lot like a toddler. No, I'm serious, it never showed any signs of anger or malicious intent like you'd expect, instead it just seemed curious. And its brainwaves are very similar to what you expect from a young child between the ages of 1 and 3. Anyway, I'm gonna keep it under watch for a while. Oh, and I should probably give it a name. I heard that the villains called this thing Starro, so I'll call this thing Jaro. Izuku woke up like he did every day before the sun rose. And just like every day, he got to play the game of sneaking away from the children clinging to him like a life raft. Today he got to extract himself from the combined hug of Kyoku and Nis. Easy work. Kyoku was a sound sleeper, at least she was when she was with Izuku. By herself she tended to have nightmares and as such was more easily woken up. Which was also the reason she often slept with Izuku. Nis on the other hand was a bit more difficult. She'd always been jumpy, as one could expect from a person who didn't know who they were and didn't have many people they could trust, but after the attack, she'd be even jumpier than usual. But Izuku could manage. Quietly and very slowly, Izuku moved himself out of their grasp and stood up before putting the blanket over the 2 girls. Izuku did some stretches before getting dressed. Alright, time to start my day. Izuku and Fuku were hard at work in the kitchen. Fuku was working on biscuits while Izuku made some bacon and eggs. The teen dad looked over at Fuku as she pulled out the finished biscuits from the oven and smiled. I'm so proud of you. Huh. Fuku froze and she nearly dropped the tray of biscuits as her face went as red as a tomato. Where did that come from? Izuku chuckled and smiled fondly at her. Sorry. It's just, look at you. Back when you first arrived, you refused to even step foot out of your room. And now you're helping me make breakfast for your friends. I'm really happy seeing you like this. Fuku's face somehow got even redder as she started mumbling incoherently for a while before eventually spitting out a thank you. Izuku's smile widened. It's my pleasure. Slam. Ack. Izuku grunted as he was thrown to the ground, Giza holding his arm while his foot was planted firmly on his back. Izuku was not a combatant, yet despite that he often found himself in combat somehow. As such, remaining inexperienced and powerless would not stand, at least not for him. Sure, there was Sheena and the fractals, but not only did he not always have the luxury of those methods, but both of them only lasted so long. And so he decided he would spend some of his free time training with Giza. Midoriya, do you know what your main issue is? Not just in fighting but in general. Giza asked him rhetorically. It is that you are far too eager. You lack any sort of patience. That attack was far too unbalanced. Distributing that much of your weight into an attack when you have no guarantee that your blow will even land is simply unwise. You must show more patience and restraint, especially as your lack of quirk will leave you lacking both defensively and offensively. Izuku sighed. Always his quirklessness. But he was right. I get it. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry. Be better. After this session you and I will be practicing breathing techniques that should aid you in claiming yourself during battle. Giza told him before getting off of him and helping him to his feet. But now I believe it is time we discuss the matter of your weapon. Another thing Izuku decided was that he needed a weapon, one aside from his quirk-removing gun, because might not always be effective at close range and he didn't want to have to use it as a first resort. But since he had little experience with combat and weapons, he decided to leave it to Giza to find the best weapon for him. Giza put his hand up his sleeve. I asked the fine people from the laboratory to make this for you. He then pulled out a metal cylinder, covered green grip, and handed it to Izuku, who looked at it confused. And this is? Izuku looked at it, wondering what kind of weapon this was exactly. Try gripping it as you would a weapon to be used in battle, Giza told him. Izuku held the thing out, not knowing what might happen, and clenched the grip tightly. Shing! Suddenly the cylinder extended into a long metal bowstaff. A bowstaff? Izuku relaxed his grip and the pole retreated back into the grip. It's lightweight and easy to move around with. And you'll be able to take it with you anywhere you like. And it's a good tool for mobility and keeping your foes at a distance, two things you should be prioritizing. Giza explained. And it's a weapon that requires patience, good timing, and mastery of weight distribution. All things you need to focus on most. That all sounds great. Izuku looked at the weapon considering what Giza had told him. But how effective is it at causing damage? Not that I'm out to hurt people, but I probably need to at least a little if I'm using it. Here, let me demonstrate. Giza held out his hand and Izuku gave it to him. Slap. Ow. Izuku cried as Giza slapped him across the face before taking 2 steps back. What was dash? Bonk. Ack. Izuku fell face first onto the hard metal floor after Giza smacked him across the face with the staff. Tell me, how much damage do you think that did? Giza asked him with a smirk on his face. Point taken. Izuku groaned as he rubbed his jaw and pulled himself up. All right, let's get training then. Ugh, nothing good is on, Yaba said as she and her sisters sat in their room trying to watch TV. Ji turned off the TV and looked at her more aggressive sister. So what do you want to do? I don't know. Yaba sighed. Maybe spar with someone. But we've been sparring a lot. Inu protested. I don't really want to fight anymore. Knock. 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 Come in, said all 3 girls at once. Izuku entered the room and after a quick look he could figure out the situation quickly. Hey, girls, bored? Yup, Ji responded casually. None of us can figure out what to do. Yaba sighed. Hey bro, you got any idea? Izuku started thinking. Yaha! Yaba shouted as skidded across the water on skies alongside her 3 siblings. This is amazing. The Midoriya siblings were being pulled by a cord they were holding, which was attached to a harness on a sea phalone which was swinging at full speed through one of the larger lakes. Faster. I want to see how fast it can go. Ji cheered. Inu just giggled as she felt the water splash on her, refreshing her after walking here in the hot sun. Well, I don't think Youngmi would have thought of this, but this works. Izuku thought, enjoying the ride as adrenaline ran through his veins and a smile crawled onto his face. Once again, Izuku and the scientific division met in the meeting room for a discussion. Progress? Izuku asked simply. Sir, I've completed the research for project intake. Futaba started, handing Izuku a file filled with plans for the machine that would feed Yami negative energy from all over the city. All that's needed now is to build this machine and we'll be ready to go. That and also we have to charge all the fractals we'll need. Well, that might not take as long as you think. Because we're already experimenting with something special. Hada said as he slid Izuku another file. Izuku looked in the file and saw a drawing of what looked like a weird egg. Parts of it seemed fleshy while others seemed to be made of wood, and its center glowed so brightly it was like looking at a small star but up close. And it's the fruits of Project Chaos Control, Mai explained. The Chaos Engine. An organic chaos battery that'll produce chaos energy more efficiently than any human, plant, or animal, and will allow us to get pure chaos energy without Jin's quirk. It's currently growing, but we should have one ready to use by the end of the month, Uchi explained. Very good. Much faster than expected. Izuku praised. Soon we'll be able to create that cure-all. Actually, sir, there is an issue. Mai then pulled out a vial. We already did. Really? Izuku's eyes went wide as Mai handed him another file, this one for Project Contamination. After figuring out how to control fractal contamination, Mai's next issue was figuring out how to implement this into a formula. So she experimented a bit and eventually she was able to create a new type of fractal, one that would melt after becoming full. Normally not desirable, but that meant she could use that liquid for the formula. But there is an issue. Mai sighed. The chaos energy from Eri fractal is not as potent as Eri herself. And the energy from a melted fractal is even less powerful. Don't get me wrong, this can already act as a cure for millions of different ailments, including some lower stages of cancer, and would make us a huge amount of income, but it's close to being the cure-all we want to be yet. I see. Izuku took on a thoughtful expression. That might not be a terrible thing. If we can make various different cures of different qualities, that means we'll be able to price some of them lower and sell them to people who have lower incomes. It won't fix our problem entirely, but it will help. But I will need you to see if you can increase the potency. Working on it, sir. It's second priority right after the Chaos Engine. Mai responded. And you said that you could create fractals with specific powers? Izuku asked. If that's the case, then there's something I need. Oh, here it comes. Izuku was now sitting on the couch with AKA and Netsu watching the news showing Blue Blur fighting a villain. Blue Blur had run off, building speed to perform his finishing attack. Sonic Boom! Shouted Blue Blur, as well as Izuku, AKA, and Netsu at home as Blue Blur drop-kicked into the villain so fast it created a boom as air exploded from the epicenter. So cool! Netsu cheered. Amazing! That villain won't be able to eat for days. AKA added gleefully before turning to Izuku. How did he do that much damage? Oh well, it's simple. Blue Blur's quirk doesn't just let him go fast, it also creates a little protective shield around him while he's running. It doesn't do much against attacks but absorbs all the friction and wind pressure that goes up against him whenever he runs. And he can release all that energy whenever he wants. Letting him do stuff like that. Izuku explained. It's been forever since I did this. Feels better than it used to. How fast can he go? Netsu asked. No one really knows, he keeps it a secret. Izuku shrugged. But we've him go faster than sound before, so I can only imagine how fast his top speed is. Amazing! Netsu shouted, getting fired up, literally. Do you think I could go that fast? Izuku gave him a sympathetic, sad smile. Sorry, you might be able to, but your body wouldn't be able to take the wind pressure. Ah! Netsu instantly became less ecstatic as his fire dimmed slightly. Don't feel too bad, there's lots of stuff you can do that others can't, Izuku reassured him. And you can still go really fast. Not many people can keep up with Kiba in a race. You're right. Thanks, Dad. Netsu instantly perked up. That Blue Blur can't set a whole forest on fire. Why yeah? Izuku stuttered, not sure what to say to that. I'm sure he can't, please don't set the forest on fire. Geez, I swear this thing gets torn up so much it's ridiculous. Izuku was now in Kiba's room fixing up her cloak. Sorry, caretaker, Kiba said, twiddling her thumbs apologetically. It's fine, seeing your cloak as this tells me how active you've been. And that makes me happy, Izuku assured her. Better to use something than try to keep it in perfect condition forever and never end up using it. Then it might as well be useless. It wouldn't be useless, Kiba muttered with a pout. And besides, no matter how much it gets tattered and torn, I'll always be here to fix it up, Izuku said as he finished up the repairs and placed the cloak over Kiba. Always? Suddenly Kiba gained a worried and slightly fearful expression and Izuku quickly regretted his choice of words as he knew exactly why she was like this. It's not your fault, Kiba, you got sick, there was nothing you could have done, Izuku reassured her, knowing she was still upset about being a liability during the sports festival attack. I could have been more healthy, Kiba argued. You're already being pretty healthy. You even eat your greens like a good girl. Izuku said, giving her a pat on the head and a heartwarming smile. You exercise every day and don't eat too much candy. Sure you spar a lot, but that's not what made you sick. It just happens sometimes. I guess. Kiba sighed before shaking her head to get herself back in high spirits. Don't worry, I mean caretaker, I swear I won't get sick for many more years. Illness will not weaken me. Izuka laughed. I hope you keep that promise. Alice was currently working hard in the library, once again trying her hardest to master Japanese. Hello, Alice? Izuka greeted as he came into the library holding something behind his back. Mr. Midoriya. Alice greeted in English. Just wanted to check on you. It must have been scary being attacked like that in a foreign land after coming here for safety. Izuka said with a sigh. I wish I could have checked up on you sooner, but I was busy. So, are you okay? I'm okay, Mr. Midoriya. It was scary, but Ms. Sori was really cool. She beat up the bad guys so fast we couldn't even see her. Alice exclaimed, still remembering how amazing Sori was that day thanks to the Chaos Emerald. Good. I'd hate it if you thought Japan was scary after that. Izuka smiled. Also, I got you a gift. Izuka then pulled out a rather strange-looking brown hat with a fake sakura tree on the top and roots going down the side. I heard you liked weird hats, so I got you one. Alice gasped. It's perfect. Thank you, Mr. Midoriya. I'll add it to my collection. Great. I'm glad that you like it. Izuka said happily. Remember, if you see any hats you like or anything else within reason, just ask me. Okay, Mr. Midoriya, why are you so nice to us? Alice asked innocently. You let me and Mommy live here and get away from the bad men who were after me, and you're always doing nice things for us. I'm really happy, but why? Izuka smiled down at her and patted her on the head. I just love making people happy. The same way you feel when you get a new hat, I feel when I make people smile. Oh, that's cool. Alice said, looking up at him in amazement. I think so too, Izuka responded happily. Ahli. Izuka sat back in his chair after finishing a stack of paperwork as the sun set behind him. You seem to be in a pretty good mood today, sir, all things considered, Chol noted as she did her own load of paperwork. All things considered, I thought you'd be a bit sourer, considering everything that happened. Well, I can't be negative all the time, it's bad for the kids, Izuku explained. Plus, Amai's candies help. Fair enough, just be careful with those, sir. Chol reminded. I will, thank you for your concern. Izuku praised. Oh, and get ready. The paperwork for the farm is going to be here soon, and there is a lot of it. Paperwork for the what? The lab had gotten far livelier in the past month, which could be seen as Izuku walked through the front door. Many more scientists, employed by the already employed scientist, scurried about, talking, jotting notes, and doing calculations. Of course, many of them were looking at him. It'd be hard not to pay attention when your boss walks in the room. And the boss is a teenager wearing an evil-looking cloak oozing darkness. But he ignored all of them except for the two people he came to see, Dr. Hikari, Mai, and Uchi, who were all standing in the center of the lab. Hello everyone, I trust you all prepared what I asked you for? Izuku asked. Yes sir, right this way, Mai said as she guided Izuku deeper into the facility. The four of them arrived in a test chamber where they met with Professor Hada at a table behind him. Yo! Nice to see ya, boss. Hada greeted. The feeling is mutual, now if you kindly show me what I came to see, Izuku responded. Sure thing. Hada moved aside, giving a clear view of the table. On it was a stick, a huge dumbbell, and a circular metal device with a fractal inside. Let's start with the twig. Right? Uchi moved over to the table and picked up the stick. As I told you during my investigation of plants' abilities when infused with chaos energy, I came across this apple tree with very peculiar properties. The apples literally weighed a ton, however, this was only noticeable when the apples were plucked from the tree. After further study, it appears these branches have a kind of anti-gravity effect in that they can literally support anything. To prove her point, Uchi put the stick under the handle of the massive dumbbell and proceeded to lift it with no issue. The branch, no bigger than a ruler, lifted the entire thing without any sign of strain, and Uchi, whose arms were only slightly thicker than that stick, also didn't seem to have any struggle. Of course, it does have to have something keeping it up, but so long as it can carry a stick, whatever is fine, Uchi said as she held the stick and the dumbbell up with her finger. Fantastic. Izuku looked very pleased as he could already see his plan coming together. And what about the device? Well, as you know, machines, while they could access the raw energy of a fractal, could not utilize their unique properties. Their quirks, rather. Dr. Hikari explained as he came over and picked up the device. However, the metal from those cacti is not technically metal at all, but rather an organic plant issue similar to that of metal. So with a bit of help from, we were able to make a deceive that's able to make use of the fractal's unique energy. In other words, I went over and pressed a button on the machine, causing the fractal inside of it to glow for a second before the entire device turned invisible. Amazing! Izuku looked at the now invisible device. Good. I am very pleased. And what about the fractal enhancer? Still working on that. We have an idea, but it's going to take some time. Mai explained apologetically, causing Izuku to frown a bit. How much more time? Izuku asked. About a month and a half? Mai sighed. I'm sorry, sir, but we have to make sure we do everything in our power to make it so things don't get explodey. Understandable. Izuku nodded with a frown. Take the time you need. But do put this project on the priority list. Right? Mai nodded. Now, I believe you wanted to show me the finished chaos engine. Izuku reminded them, causing everyone's eyes to perk up. Yes, sir. Come this way. Mai said as she started leading them to another room. Quickly they reached another room, and immediately the chaos engine was the first thing they saw. Floating in a glass tube was a half-fleshy, half-plant-like egg covered in skin and bark, giving off a glow that could be seen from even behind its exterior. Flesh/root-like tendrils spewed out of the top and bottom of the egg, pulsing as they pumped something that gave off the same glow. Behold! The pinnacle of bioengineering. The chaos engine. Dr. Hada introduced grandly as they all walked over to the device. This beautiful work of art can produce chaos energy at the same rate as Jin. Except since we can make multiple of them, the rate at which we can produce chaos energy has skyrocketed. It only takes us about a month to make an engine, and we can produce multiple simultaneously, Mai explained. Soon our lack of energy will be a thing of the past, sir. Izuku clapped. Wonderful. Fantastic work, everyone. I knew all this would pay off. Now, I have something I need all of you to build for me. It'll take a month, maybe a little more, Izuku said into the phone. He was back in his office, alone, on the phone with none other than Nizu. My scientist has already finished most of the research needed to make it. I have faith they won't make me wait much longer. Good, I have to say your idea was rather creative, Nizu responded. Not something I would have thought of, although I suppose that's a good thing considering what we're doing. Have you done everything on your end? Izuku asked. Everything is ready. Once I give the word, they'll all be gathered together, Nizu answered. I have to say, I'm quite surprised you came up with such an idea considering your love of heroes. I don't think I would have if not for Giza's report about the gentle criminal, Izuku explained. But afterward I couldn't help but think about the potential, even if I'm not a huge fan of doing something so blatantly illegal. We're here to upload the spirit of the law, not the letter, Nizu argued. And is it really all that illegal if it's government approved? I'm fairly certain it's still illegal, but that does ease my mind a bit, Izuku said. Oh, and there is something else I would like to add to the plan. Knock knock knock. Dad, I have what you asked for, Yami said on the opposite side of the door. Izuku smiled. And there it is, I'll tell you the details later. Goodbye. Have a good day, Mr. Midoriya, Nizu said before the call ended. Come in, Izuku signaled. Yami opened the door, and Izuku was thrilled to see that in his hand was a black and white grim spider. Oh Yami, what a gift you are. Izuku praised. In Ken's room, the game development team had met up again to discuss a very important matter. The release of their game. Ugh, the stupid villains. Now we be able to sell the game with the help of the festival. Ken complained loudly. That is a problem, but at the very least, people who were looking to see what 1A could do have all come to watch Kiba's channel, so it's not all bad, Fu explained. And Kiba's got a lot more subscribers now, which is pretty good. We have a lot of pre-orders, so we already know it's going to sell well, Mu said from the closet. Enough about sales, what are we gonna do for the release? Amai asked over a video call. As Izuku deemed it too dangerous for her to be coming in and out of the foundation for the time being. We have to do something special, it's our first game after. We need to show the fans that we care about them. How about we add a bonus game? Ken suggested casually, causing everyone to give him confused looks, except Amai. Oh yeah, that thing, Amai remembered. I almost forgot we made that. Wait, did you two make a game while we were making a game? Shiruku asked. Yeah, we just made a little fighting game with Ken's transformations, Amai said casually. We did it while we were waiting for you guys to give us more stuff to work with. It's not much, but I'd say it'd be a pretty good bonus. Anyone disagrees? Fu asked the room, getting a responding no from everyone. Alright, then all we have to do is finish the game. Is everyone done? Everyone nodded except Fuku, who blushed with embarrassment. I still need to make some final edits on the story. But I'm almost done. Just give me a couple more days. It's fine, you had the most to do, so it makes sense you'd take the longest, Kiba reassured her. But with that said, I'd say we're set to release the game in just a week. Everyone, let's get to work. Everything is going so smoothly, soon people will absolutely fall in love with my designs. Shiruku thought with glee as she sat back in her chair and enjoyed her literal finger food. Knock knock knock. Hello dear sister? Yonda said with a hum. Instantly Shiruku scowled. Oh, it's her. Yes, it's me. Goodness, why do you sound so unhappy to see me, dear sister? Yonda asked, opening the door and entering the room with her usual too-sweet smile. You're tearing me up on the inside, I swear. I know what you did and what you do. I don't care what it is, I won't let you trick me. Shiruku told her determinedly, crossing her arms and glaring at the other girl with all 5 of her eyes. Ah ha ha ha. Trick you? Oh dear sister, you have it all wrong. Yonda said, waving off her accusations. If you've heard about what I've done, then you must know that everything I've done has been to help father and the rest of you. That's true. Fu did tell me she really cares about helping daddy. Shiruka thought. Fu had given her a warning about Yonda, but he also told her about her reasons. But still, what you do is mean and makes daddy upset. Yonda put on a guilty face. I know, I've gone too far in the past, and after father scolded me I understand that I was wrong. I don't have any plans to try and trick you, I just came to ask for some clothes. You want clothes? Just clothes? Shiruku asked skeptically. Is it really that hard to believe? Everyone knows how lovely your clothes are. Of course, I would want some. Yonda said, filling her sentence with praise. Oh, well that makes sense I guess. Shiruka said, smiling at all the praise filling her head. I suppose I could do that for you, you are still my sister after all. Just let me get your measurements. Thank you, dear sister. Yonda said with a grin as Shiruku went over and measured her. I've seen your designs before and they are quite dazzling. I wish the whole world could know just how great your clothes are. That's the plan. One day I want my clothes to be worn by people all across the world. Shiruku explained casually while she measured. Oh, that's going to be difficult. Yonda frowned, forcing a worried expression. Due to all those heroes. Heroes? What do they have to do with fashion? Shiruku asked, stopping her measurements and giving Yonda a confused look. You don't see it? Yonda gave her an equally confused look. People like fashion and there are those that will live and die by it, but the masses are obsessed with heroes. Why would they wear something stylish when they could wear something with their favorite hero's face on it? Just look at father. Shiruka thought about it. Wait, she's right. Most of father's old clothes were either hero merch or garbage. That's right, and he's hardly the only one. Look at a crowd, you'll find loads of people wearing hero merch of all different kinds of heroes. And since the heroes pretty much ask them to wear it, that's not going to change anytime soon. That's not fair. Shiruka thought. Don't worry. I'm sure plenty of people will buy your clothes. They are beautiful after all. Yonda reassured her. I'm just saying that it'll be really hard to accomplish your dream unless... Unless what? Shiruku asked, eager for an idea that would boost clothing sales. You could always just become a hero. Yonda pointed out. People will trample over each other for clothes with a hero's face or logo on them. Imagine what they would do to get their hands on clothes that were handmade by a hero. And not just any hero, but a hero from the Midoriya Foundation. A foundation that makes very powerful heroes like Kiba and Yami. Shiruka pondered the thought. Yonda made a very good point, and it's not like she couldn't do it. She was strong, very strong, and she knew it. Plus, it's not like she would have a hard time training. The more I think about it, the better the idea gets. Yonda added. To be honest, I'm very worried about all my brothers and sisters rushing into danger. But if you're there, you can help them. You can save people who would have died otherwise. You can even defend father from bad guys. That is a really good idea. Shiruka thought. How did I never think about this? Being a hero can help me with everything I want to do. Making clothes, defending my family, I can't believe I didn't see it before. Yonda's smile grew, seeing her plan had worked. Well, you're welcome for coming up with it. The sounds of heavy footsteps in the rain rang out for a back alley in the city as a large figure, almost 10 feet tall, ran through. Whoever they were, it was obvious to anyone that just so much as glanced at her that she was dangerous. Even under the cloak, one could see their long purply scaly tail with a spearhead-like point at its end. Their feet were bare, mostly human-like, but covered in purple scales and their black talons for nails. They ran through the back alley and into an empty street. Suddenly, a spotlight came down on them from a police helicopter flying above. Freeze! Kazuzuko, you are under arrest, shouted the policeman using a megaphone. Suddenly, police cars came rolling in from both sides of the street, blocking her from going either way. Shit! She swore as she went running back into the alley behind her, only to find Crust there at the other side of the alley. Young lady, please surrender, I don't wish to hurt you, Crust told her. Grrrr. the girl growled through her fang teeth. She heard the clicks of guns behind her and looked over her shoulder to find a small army of policemen with their guns trained on her. She paused for a second before slowly raising her hands. All right, I give up. Fuckers. Good choice. Crust said. More policemen came towards her, holding enhanced cuffs that would be able to restrain even someone of her caliber. And as they got close, she grinned. She spat out a massive fireball from her mouth at the ground, causing it to explode, sending everyone but Crust, who used his quirk at the last second to protect himself, flying and covering the entire area in steam. Crap. I can't see. Get the villain in sight now. Meanwhile, under the cover of the steam, Kaza threw up her cloak, revealing her large purple wings. She flapped her wings and took to the sky, creating a large gust of wind as she flew out of the steam. Found her. She's flying away. The helicopter pilot managed to spot her flying away and took chase. TCH bastards, Kaza swore as she saw the helicopter in pursuit before she got an idea that made her grin ear to ear. Let's give them a scare. Instead of continuing to fly away, she turned around and started flying toward them. What the hell is she doing? The pilot asked fearfully as the girl got closer and closer. Get away, damn it, ow. Suddenly Kaza landed on the front window and clung onto the helicopter using her claws. Raghai! She roared intensely and used her tail to punch right through the glass, cutting the pilot's cheek and skewering his headrest. Kaza then launched off the helicopter and flew away, watching amused as it struggled to sustain flight as its pilot was thoroughly shaken. Kaboom! Ack! Kaza cried as she was struck in the back by a high-powered rocket, causing her to fall out of the air and onto the hard streets below. Got her! Called out the hero who shot her, Manzuka. Everyone get her, Enha? Suddenly, another smoke screen exploded, covering the area in smoke once more. Shit! She made more smoke. Don't let her fly away. Cover all ground exits. Manzuka said as he looked around to see if she would try to fly away again. But there were no signs of her flying away, and when the smoke eventually dissipated, Kaza had vanished completely. On the outskirts of the city was a young man standing over a grave in a cemetery. He wore a ragged cloak, some worn-down jeans, and a plain white t-shirt. He also carried a sheathed sword on his side. He had long black hair that went down the back of his neck and vibrant green eyes that stared down at the grave. The grave read Sakura and Hitachi Sosaka. R.I.P. And the person standing over the grave was none other than their now 19-year-old son, Tsuru Sosaka, aka the vigilante known as Shift. He didn't say a word, just staring at it with a sorrowful yet rage-filled expression. It wasn't an accident, said a voice from behind him. Tsuru turned around and saw Giza standing behind him, with his hood covering his face but doing little to hide his rat-like features. I know, Tsuru responded, glaring at the interloper. I'm guessing you're not here to take me in, otherwise you wouldn't have given yourself away. Giza nodded and walked closer to Tsuru, standing right next to him and bowing to the grave. Tell me, do you think it was the MLA? They're my best guess, Tsuru answered with a glare. I've already made my way through quite a few quirkist groups, but none of them did it. It has to be them. No one else with the power and the motive to do this. Most likely. Giza agreed while stroking his beard. So, where do you intend to start? And how? Honestly, I have fucking idea, Tsuru admitted before looking back at Giza. So then, are you here to help me? Or are you just that confident about your chances? I am not here to help you, no, Giza answered. I am here to present an opportunity for you to help us and yourself. I'm listening, Tsuru responded. In a rundown part of town, in front of an abandoned building, was a large man in a brown coat with a gray shirt and torn-up jeans. He had short and messy beige hair and was holding a bottle of sake in his hand. The bottle he'd spent the last of his money on. As he drank, he looked up at the sky, wondering to himself, what now? This was the end. He had no more money. No one was going to hire him after he was blacklisted and after all the arrests. What could he do now but drink and wait to die? The man took a long weary sigh before taking another sip. I wish I could just see her one last time. May I sit? Suddenly the man jumped as he heard a voice come out of nowhere and saw Giza standing in front of him. Geez man, you nearly scared the life out of me. The man breathed a sigh of relief as he calmed down. Then again, that might have just put me out of my misery. Oh, and yeah, you can sit. Not like I own the damn sidewalk or anything for that matter. Seems like life has been unkind to you, Subayukog. Giza said as he sat behind the man who now looked at him, bewildered. All right, what do you want? Suba asked. I doubt you just know my name, come to me for no reason? If you're one on the deck collects, then feel free to just kill me and sell my organs, already not like I have snowball's chance of hell of paying any of those back. But what if you did? Giza asked him. Tell me, have you ever considered a life of crime? Suba groaned. Shamefully, yes. But I doubt get very far. I'm poor, but I'm not completely morally bankrupt. Crime involves hurting people. And I don't think I could close my heart to that forever. Assuming I don't just get caught. But what if the people you hurt were less than savory individuals? Giza asked him. And what if we provided you a way to be a bit more secure? Suba looked at the man before lifting up his bottle and chugging it all down. What the hell? All right, I'm listening. In a very expensive manner, a young woman painted in her room. The room was covered in portraits of various kinds of monsters, whether they be massive metal birds, enormous sea creatures, or even huge reptile monsters. All of them were monstrous beings destroying a city. The woman herself had white hair with smatterings of various different colors on it, and she wore a very expensive-looking white dress with gold accents. Notably, she was painting on her canvas with her finger, which was also a paintbrush. On her ankle was a black device, keeping her shackled to this manner. What wondrous paintings! The woman turned around nonchalantly despite a stranger appearing in her room and saw Giza standing behind her. You truly think so? Giza nodded as he went closer to one of the paintings. I do not appreciate them for the same reason you do. However, I've always appreciated good art. Seeing people put years into practice, honing their skills to improve, especially when they have such passion. I can see the hard work and pure passion put into every single painting here. And I must say, your skill is not lacking either, Ms. Pei Ioto. Pei smiled. Flattery will get you everywhere. Especially when it is genuine. Even if you do not see the inherent beauty, I'm at least glad you acknowledge my efforts and talents. So many people are blind, they cannot see that my wondrous art should be set free for the world to see. So that they can enact what your paintings depict? Giza asked. Pei scoffed. Obviously not. As much as I would love to see my artfully become reality, I am not so selfish as to have the innocent suffer for my enjoyment. But what if the people suffering weren't innocent? Giza asked her. What if you and your art could be free? Looked upon by the world as your lovely creations wreaked havoc upon the wicked. Pei raised an eyebrow. Well, you certainly have my attention. So, who are you and what exactly do you want in exchange for this wonderful promise? Crash. In a warehouse at the harbor, a 12-foot-tall, extremely muscular villain was sent flying through a wall. Ugh! The villain groaned as he fell unconscious. Ha! Not talking so tough now, are ya, asshole? Walking out from the hole she created was a very short, pink-haired girl. She looked like an elementary schooler and wore a red backward cap, a black shirt, some jeans, and red jackets and shoes. She was playing with a yo-yo that she was moving up and down while she casually walked out of the building and onto the unconscious villain before spitting in his face. Believe it or not, this woman was actually the 21-year-old vigilante, named after her weapon, Yo-Oh, aka Karaki Asu. Impressive, defeating a B-rank villain with nothing but a yo-yo, said a voice from behind her. Karaki immediately reacted, throwing her yo-yo at a Giza who had snuck up behind her, which he caught with ease. Calm yourself, I am not your enemy, Giza told her as he let the yo-yo go and returned to its owner via its string. TCH. If you don't want to get hit, then don't sneak up on me, you fuck. Karaki swore. Now what the fuck do you want? I don't got time to waste, the heroes are gonna be here soon, so that means I need to be anywhere else. Well, then I will make this quick, Giza said as he reached up his sleeve. I come with two things. A proposition and a gift. I'll start with the latter. Giza pulled out a gray yo-yo from his sleeve and threw it over to Karaki, who caught it and inspected it thoroughly. It was heavier than a normal yo-yo but not overly so. The string was metal and clearly had some mechanisms attached to it. Your quirk is not exactly suited to a weapon that deals almost no damage, but we were able to work around that, Giza explained. Try it on this wall. Karaki gave him a suspicious look but decided to try it out anyway. After all, what was the worst that could happen? She tossed the yo-yo at the wall and slam! The yo-yo broke through the concrete wall with ease, much to Karaki's disbelief. She recalled the yo-yo and it came back to her hand at alarming speeds, but when it hit her hand, it didn't hurt at all. After looking at the new tool in disbelief for a second, her face eventually broke out into a wicked grin. Oh yeah, I can fuck shit up with this. Well then, shall we talk somewhere private? Giza asked. Get me something with alcohol in it and you got yourself a deal, Karaki responded with glee. In a lavish apartment, a young woman sat back on her very expensive white couch, counting her stacks of cash with a bored expression. To say this woman was attractive would be an understatement. Her skin was perfect and unblemished, her figure slim and curvy, her hair long, fiery red, and silky smooth, and her face was absolutely perfect, even without any makeup. Although her attire might not be what one would expect. She wore a gray hoodie one side too big for her and some purple pajama pants. Not really caring all too much about her appearance at the moment. She just had an excursion at the worst part of town after some scumbag tried to drug her drink. She did end up going home with him, but he quickly fell victim to her quirk and was left with absolutely nothing. She sighed. Good lord, it's just too easy. Can't they give me a challenge for fuck's sake? Or at least something exciting? Ugh, why is being rich so boring? Looking for excitement? Fuck. The woman jumped out of her seat and looked behind her to see Giza standing there. Who the fuck are you? I apologize, that's actually one of the few times I get a normal reaction when I do that, Giza explained with a bow. I heard you were looking for something fun and were willing to do less the legal things. Yoka Miru. Well, you're not wrong. Yoko wouldn't exactly consider herself a villain, but she did like to use her quirk a lot, illegally, which yes technically made her a villain, but since no one caught her didn't matter. And they were all evil anyway, so who cares? She was going to use her quirk on Giza, but unfortunately she noticed he was not focusing on her, meaning he knew what her quirk was and how to counter it. This was problematic as he was likely very skilled considering he snuck into her apartment without her noticing and without setting off the security, and she had no real way to defend herself if her quirk didn't work. What do you want? I want to offer you the excitement, riches, and fame you've been looking for. Giza offered. So, does that sound appealing to you? Well, considering you're saying all the right things, you probably already know that it does, Yoku admitted cautiously. But I asked what you want, not what I could get out of it. We want you simply to do what you've been doing, just on a grander scale, Giza explained. So, what is your answer? All right, I'm listening. Yoka said, lowering her guard just a bit as she went to go get some wine. In a smaller, more shabby, and bare apartment, a young man looked over a desk full of papers. The man wore a white lab coat and a green shirt with a pizza on it, had slick-back gray hair and dark brown eyes, and was looking down at the papers with a frustrated expression. All of them were requested for him to be employed by various different sources, and while most people would ecstatic to have so many choices, none of them interested him. Why? Because they were all so boring. I didn't get my engineering degree to toil away in some damn office for the rest of my life. The man bemoaned. Where's the excitement, the adventure? You got an engineering degree for excitement and adventure? Ah. The man jumped back onto his desk and looked to see Giza had snuck up behind him. Who are you? Once again, a normal reaction. Perhaps I should have just knocked on the door. Giza pondered for a second. Well, what's done is done. Greetings. I've come to make you a job offer. Rora Khan. Well, you've certainly got my attention, Rora said, calming down and getting back in his chair. So, does this job offer excitement? Oh, it certainly does. Giza chuckled. It certainly does. Back during Nizu and Izuku's meeting, there were 7 files on the table that Nizu had brought. Kazuzuko. Wanted for attempted murder, property damage, and attacking police and heroes. Quirk, Wyvern. A mutant-type quirk that drastically enhances her strength, gives her the ability to fly, and arms her with various biological weapons, being her claws, talons, fangs, tail, and fire-breathing. Sura Sosaka Akashift. Wanted for illegal uses of quirk and assault. Quirk, Space Swap. Allows him to swap 2 objects' positions in space without changing their appearance. Imagine if someone had the ability to swap hitboxes without changing what anything looked like. Tsubuyukage. Former security guard. Wanted by several debt collectors. Has been incarcerated for multiple cases of assault. Quirk, Grain Control. Allows him to control grains. Be they sand, rice, dirt, or anything considered to be a grain. Pei Iodo. Part of the prestigious Iodo family. Has been arrested on multiple counts of illegal quirk use. Currently on house arrest. Quirk, Lifelike. Her fingertip is a paintbrush. Anything she paints with that brush can be manifested and brought into reality for an hour before vanishing. Karaki Esu Akayoyo. Wanted for vigilantism and assault. Quirk, Multiply Impact. If the user hits someone with a direct attack and then hits them again within a span of 30 seconds, the impact of that second hit will be multiplied by 2. This continues to stack until she fails to hit them again within the span of 30 seconds. Note, this quirk is useless if the user cannot inflict damage on the opponent at all, as anything multiplied by 0 is still 0. Yoko Miru. Suspected of several cases of illegal quirk use and theft. Quirk, charm. Whenever the user focuses on a person, that person will begin falling in love with the user. The longer they focus, the more effect it has. This works regardless of any outside circumstances like preference, marital status, and sexuality. Rora Khan. A brilliant graduate with an engineering degree but has refused all job offers due to lack of interest. Quirk, ownership. Whenever Rora touches something, he can then activate his quirk and claim ownership of it, meaning he has complete control over its functions and how it operates. Note, he can only do this to one thing at a time, and his quirk only works on inorganic matter. Yes, they will make a fine time, Nisa said as he looked over the files. I agree, I'm glad you found so many good candidates. Although I have to admit I'm pretty worried. What if they go too far or we can't control them? Izuku asked. Well, then you'll find them much easier to destroy than the current threat we face, Nisa said nonchalantly. It is a risk, but one I have faith in. Do you? Not really, but I have faith in you and I do want to help out some of these people if I can. Izuku admitted with a sigh. All right. Project Sky Pirates is a go. In a dark abandoned warehouse, all of the scouted people that Giza had contacted gathered, finding a large circular table with 9 seats waiting for them and Kaza already sitting in one of them with her arms crossed. I suppose that rat guy swept all of you into this too? Karaki asked as she quickly took her seat. He tell you what this was about? No, we're just as in the dark as you are, honey. Yoka sighed as she too took her seat. Well, he sure offered some enticing incentive. Whoever's really behind all this must be pretty big, Suba said as everyone settled into their seats except Sura who stood next to his. As long as they can maintain their promises, I could care less, Pei admitted nonchalantly. Well, you'll be happy to know that we in fact can, said Izuku's voice from nowhere. Suddenly, Izuku appeared behind his chair, becoming visible for all to see with his hood up and face hidden. Nizu appeared behind him. Hello everyone. I'm so glad you agreed to meet with us. I knew Giza wouldn't fail to get our point across. Nizu and Izuka Midoriya. Well, this is certainly interesting, Rora said. I have to say, I never expected someone who takes care of children for a living to be so shady. I have little choice, Izuka retorted as he and Niza took their seats. And little time. Let's get right to the point. For those unaware, I am Nizu, hero and principal of UA. But you don't need to worry about being arrested today. And this is Izuka Midoriya, head the Midoriya Foundation, whose specialty is taking care of children with quirks that make it difficult for them to live in society. He's also completely quirkless despite what his aura might tell you. Quirkless, huh? Never thought I'd meet another one. Suba stared at Izuku with a saddened expression. Must have been tough. It was and still is, Izuku explained. Me and my children have been facing attacks by the recently revealed Meta Liberation Army, a quirk supremacist group with seemingly large amounts of power and influence, enough to have kept them hidden for decades. Kaza, Suru, and Suba suddenly all donned an angry, vengeful expression, with Kaza even growling slightly. As you can imagine, a group with a cult-like obsession with quirks doesn't take kindly to me gaining as much attention as I have. Izuku continued. And they've made it their mission to kill me. They've teamed up with 2 other powerful villainous organizations, that being the League of Villains and the Foot. I know the League of Villains, but what the hell is the Foot? Karaki asked. To briefly explain, the League of Villains is yet another secret villain organization. However, what people don't know is about their leader, or at least who is most likely leading them. Niza then pulled out a remote and a holograph of said villain came out of the center of the table. All for one. All for one is the closest thing there is to an evil All Might, Izuka disclosed. He's existed for hundreds of years thanks to his quirk, All for One, which allows him to steal and bestow quirks. Wait, what? Yoka stared at the image in disbelief. Wait. If he's this powerful and dangerous, then why have I never heard of him before? Karaki asked. Because he's a national secret. You're not supposed to have heard of him, Nizu explained. And he was thought to be dead up until recently when these started appearing. Another image appeared, this time showing Ruin, Hood, and Starro. Nomu. Man-made monsters created from dead tissue. Izuku explained. Much of their nature is unknown, but what we do know is that they possess multiple quirks, meaning that All for One likely played some part in their creation. Lastly, we have the Foot. A former part of the Yakuza, they disappeared for decades, gathering power, influence, and resources, all while staying in the shadows. They've been experimenting on animals and humans alike with a mysterious substance called mutagen, which, as the name implies, mutates anything it comes into contact with. They don't have control over it yet, but one day, if they do figure out its secrets, they could gain the power of an army of powerful mutants. Nizu explained. All right, we get it, they're all-powerful. But what do you want us for? Karaki asked impatiently. Do you want us to kick their asses because I'm gonna need more than a yo-yo for that? To some degree, yes, Izuka said. After the most recent attack, we've decided that waiting on the heroes to deal with this by the books is simply taking too long. Too many people are getting hurt, and my children can't even go outside without fear of being attacked. So, we've decided that if the heroes can't deal with them quickly, maybe villains can. So in short, you want us to become our own villain group and illegally attack the MLA, the LOV, and the Foot. Sura surmised. That is correct, Izuku confirmed. We can gain information on all of them quickly. The issue is that none of our methods are legal, hence can't be used by the heroes. But villains hardly need to have a legal reason to attack people for profit, do they? We want you to attack these groups as well as any other villain group based on the information given to you. Niza continued. Of course, you'll need to make yourselves look like a legitimate villain group, as if the public found out about this, that would be rather disastrous. We expect you to steal any valuables these villains have. While we can't arrest or kill any of the villains, we can rob them of their income, which will not only majorly affect them but also divert their attention from Mr. Midoriya. Ms. Kaza, Mr. Tsubu, and Mr. Suru, I'm well aware that you two have some issues with quirk supremacists, Izuka said. Whether it is Ms. Kaza's mutant sister, Mr. Tsubu's quirkless daughter, and Mr. Suru's quirk equal rights activist parents, all of them have been targeted, attacked, and Mr. Suru's case killed by quirkists. This your chance to really strike back at them, get some well-deserved revenge, and in Mr. Tsubu's case, some cash. The three of them all grit their teeth and tighten their fist. Ms. Ioto, this will be your chance to use your quirk to do the thing you've always wanted to do, Niza added. To destroy and to display your art for the world to see. Ms. Karaki, you can defeat villains on an even grander scale. Izuka offered. And Ms. Miru, you can finally get the thrill you've been looking for. The same goes for you, Mr. Khan. Finally, you can have a job that excites you. The other four all looked excited at the prospect, enticed by the offer. Of course, this comes with risks. Ones you've likely figured out, but as villains, you'll be a bit harder to arrest. The government is on our side with this, and so long as you fulfill some of their requests, they'll make things much easier for you. Nizu explained. And as we've said, you also can't reveal a connection to any of us under any circumstance. It's a high-risk, high-reward game. So the question is, who is willing to take that risk? Izuku asked, before leaving the room silent, ready to hear their decisions. I am in. Pei was the first to say. I've been willing to be arrested for my art before, this is no different. Except this will be far grander in scale. Mr. Midoriya, you have my cooperation. I am in too. Suru was next. If becoming a villain is what I have to do to avenge my parents and slice up quirkist bastards, then so be it. I could care less what society calls me. What the hell? Sounds like fun, consider me in. Karaki said while leaning back and putting her feet on the table. I don't really have any other options and revenge is too good to pass up, Tsuba said with a sigh. I'm in. Well, seeing as you know who I am, what I've done, and where I live. And I don't trust you not to arrest me if I say no. I'm in. Yoka said. And it sounds like fun, so that's a bonus. This is certainly the most interesting job offer I've ever heard of. All right, I'm on board. Rora said. Everyone looked at Kaza, the only person who'd yet to give an answer, as she looked down at the table with a dark expression. Crack. Kaza broke apart a piece of the table, crushing it in her claws while she bared her fangs. Damn it. I never fucking wanted this, I just wanted to live in peace for fuck's sake. But those damn bastards. Those damn quirkist bastards. They wouldn't just leave me the fuck alone. Fine. They want to make me the enemy, I'll fucking make them regret it. I'll make them pay. Kaza looked up at Izuku with eyes full of hot fury and steely determination. I'll be your damn villain. Just make sure the batards I'm hurting deserve it. Or I'm coming after you next. Izuka nodded. Very well. Thank you all for your cooperation. Now we can get into the finer details. Firstly, your group will now be known as the Sky Pirates. Everyone gave Izuku a confused look, but before anyone could say anything, Izuku pressed down on the remote, showing a massive hologram of a pirate ship. This is the Cloud Splitter, Izuku explained. A flying pirate ship that can fly at an altitude higher than any plane or hero could hope to reach. It's equipped with all the latest and most powerful technology the Midoriya Foundation labs could produce. The cannons fire streams of flames about half as powerful as the hero Endeavor. Guns mounted on deck. And a force field that not only protects the ship from attack, but protects the people inside from high altitudes and can cloak the ship indefinitely. There are several private rooms for each of you to use, as well as several common rooms used for entertainment. 2 bathrooms equipped with all your needs and a hot tub, a cafeteria with all the cooking equipment you could want, and several storage rooms for whatever you should need to put in them, namely food and stolen goods. Lastly, the ship has no need to ever land, nor will it run of fuel or power so long as maintenance is done regularly. Wow, fucking sweet. Karaki looked up at the ship with starry eyes and a drooling mouth, with Sura looked at it with a similar expression. How the hell did you build something like that? Rora asked, looking at the ship with great confusion. How does that force field work? And those cannons dash? Better question, why does a child care facility have a lab that can produce top-of-the-line weaponized vehicles straight from a fantasy manga? Yoku asked. And the next best question is, why did you then decide to take all this advanced technology and use it to make a fucking pirate ship? You know, that is a bit weird, not that I'm one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Suba said. My lab was founded with my own money after we discovered a new and interesting source of energy, Izuku explained. It was this energy that made it possible to make this ship. However, this also adds a complication to the mix. You can't just give us a ship made with technology only you have without people getting suspicious. Kaza surmised. At least not if you want to sell that technology anytime soon. Correct. Which means I'm going to need you to steal it from me, Izuku said before using the remote again to show a new image, this time of his land. This would be almost impossible for you normally, as I've turned my facility into a fortress of sorts, using all kinds of technology and quirks as well as 4 highly trained and powerful bodyguards to safeguard myself and the children. However, we've managed to make something an opportunity. In order to test both Mr. Midoriya's new security and my own students, we plan on having the students of Class 1A go through his security system and try to reach his abode, Nizu explained. This will keep most of the security distracted as well as give an excuse for the scientists to not be in the lab and for the children to be inside, but you will still need to do quite a bit on your own. Your main objective is the laboratory storing the ship as well as other equipment here. Izuku pressed a button and a big red dot appeared where the lab would be on the map. Along the way, you'll have to deal with a few things. Namely, the Grimm. Izuku pressed another button, revealing a Beowulf. These are one of my son's creations, and they come in many shapes and sizes, with various different abilities, so be careful and don't let your guard down. But more than any other, you have 2 Grimm to worry about in particular. With another button pressed, the hologram displayed both a seer and the hound. The orb is called a seer. They possess little offensive capabilities, but their main strength is their connection and telecommunication properties. They have 360-degree vision and can communicate with other seers, which can then display sounds and images to others, namely the head of my security. If they're alerted to your presence, then not only will you have to face the full wrath of my security, but you'll also need to face Class 1A, which lowers your already low chance of succeeding, Izuku explained. So it's very important you avoid these at all costs. Fortunately, most of them will be focused in the area where 1A will be testing, so you should be able to avoid them easily. And then there's the hound. This you won't be able to avoid as one of them guards the lab. And since it can't see, it relies on sonar, so there is no way to sneak around it. Nizu explained. They're far more dangerous than most other Grimm, as not only are they intelligent, but they have the ability to adapt to their opponents. Not only that, but their howls can call other Grimm, so it's imperative to take it out as quickly as possible. Attacking their bodies is useless as they regenerate rapidly. In order to defeat them, you must destroy the human brain located typically in their heads, Izuku explained. And before anyone asks, they are not alive and got the brains via quirks. No one died to get these. Anyways, they also have the ability to move their brains throughout their bodies and explode if they feel like they need to. So once again, take them out quickly. We've mapped a route for you to take that should let you avoid the security towers, cameras, and motion sensors, but you will need to memorize it and follow it strictly, Nizu added. Wouldn't this be easier if you just told your security about the plan and let us in? Karaki asked. Yes, but that would risk them exposing our operation if even one of them disagrees with the highly questionable action of creating a villain group, Nizu explained. You can also consider this as somewhat of a test, to see if you all can really cooperate and do what's needed to be done. Fair enough, I suppose, Yoka said. Anything else you need to tell us about your child care facility? Yes, don't linger in the lab for too long, Izuku warned. There are some rather dangerous things in there that could lead to unfortunate results if you mess around in there. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all, Karaki said. What, you got some kind of monster in there? I wouldn't suggest sticking around to find out, Izuku told them. Now, with all that said, I believe we're done here. We'll call you when it's time for the operation to begin. I'd suggest you stay here until then. So long as you stay quiet, no one should find you here. There's internet, food, and whatever else you may need, including alcohol, which I trust you to be responsible with. Fucking sweet. Who said bosses can't be fun? Karaki immediately left to go search for alcohol. Izuku sighed. Please don't disappoint me. With that, Izuku and Niza faded away and disappeared. Back at the Midoriya Foundation, Izuku was in his office looking down at a seer. In reality, Izuku nor Niza had actually been at the meeting. Their appearances were thanks to two Grimm, a seer, and a new Grimm, a mind weaver. A mind weaver was a small spider Grimm that had the ability to project illusions. When combined with a seer, they could project a completely realistic illusion of whoever the seer was connected to, making it seem like they were there in the flesh. No turning back now, Izuku told himself. The only way is forward. Back at the warehouse, the soon-to-be Sky Pirates were lounging around on a large couch with a TV playing. Kaza was fast asleep on the couch. Sura was leaning on a nearby wall, stoically. Subu, Yoku, and Karaki were relaxing on the couch with a bottle of wine each and a couple of dozen empty bottles around them, while Rora sat a little bit away, no alcohol to be found. And Pai was off to the side painting. Ugh, nothing good's on, Karaki grunted before turning the TV off. Alright, guess we should get to know each other if we're going to be skyfaring swashbucklers together. Hey, don't have much of a story. Suba shrugged. Worked as a security guard for a while, some asshole came along and replaced me, all because he had a better quirk. We weren't even allowed to use our fucking quirks, but somehow that still trumped all my years of experience. Fucking elitists. Then when I rightfully try to complain, the fucker blacklists me. My condolences, Sura said. If you'd like, you can tell me their names and make sure they never walk again. Probably best if you don't. We have to lay low, remember. Yoka pointed out as she took another swig of wine. Alright, then lady, what's your origin story? Subu asked. What leads such a pretty girl down the path of a life of crime? Yoka scoffed. Nothing too serious. I hate assholes and I like stealing from assholes. The rest was history. Fair enough, I'll drink to that. Karaki said before taking another drink, which Subu joined in on. What about you, Ms. Money? Yoko asked, looking at Pai. The boss said something about art and how you like blowing things up. What's that about? Pai sighed. You would not understand it. The beauty of destruction. Explosions making debris fly, blood painting the streets, people showing their true colors and trampling over each other as they run for their lives. That is beauty. Bombs, guns, blades, cannons, to me those are not weapons but tools of art, the same as a paintbrush. A villain attack is just art in motion. I tried to show people this, but they couldn't understand my vision. They locked away both me and my wondrous art to never see the light of day. But now I am free. Free to show the world my art. Free to destroy. Free to create. Free to burn my art into the minds and souls of the people. There was a small silence after that until Yoka spoke up. Okay, you're a psychopath, got it. Call me what you will, Pai said. I mean, I kinda get it, Karaki admitted casually. I mean, I think throwing my yo-yo into an asshole's balls is art, so I totally relate. Pai paused and considered that. Would you mind discussing that more with me? I would very much like to paint that. Alright, Mr. Engineer, what brought you here? Yoko asked, wanting to shift the topic away from this topic. I was just bored and this interested me. Rora shrugged. That's it. You just decided to become a fucking sky pirate for kicks? Yoko asked. Didn't you say nearly the same damn thing? Karaki asked. Yoko shrugged. Yeah, I guess. Just didn't think anyone would have the same reason. Anyway, what about you, Tiny? What made you want to become a vigilante? I just wanted to whoop some villain ass. Karaki grimaced. But no. Apparently, I was too violent and it was inappropriate to hit villains in the balls, which is bullshit. So naturally hit them in the balls, peaced out and decided to just do my own thing. Fair. Why do you like hitting people in the balls so much? Yoku asked. Because it's fucking funny, Karaki answered simply. And it's the best way to activate my quirk. What if you're fighting a woman? Subu asked. Then I hit them in the tits. Karaki shrugged before taking another swig. Hey, you think we should wake up the dragon and ask what her fucking deal is? She seemed pretty pissed off back when the boss talked to us. Leave her alone, she's tired, Sura said. It's 3 in the evening, what do you mean she's tired? Yoko asked rudely. She's been running around almost nonstop. It's not exactly easy to find a place to sit down and hide when a 9-foot-tall purple-wanted woman covered in spikes. Suru explained. She likely hasn't slept in days. Fair point. Yoku agreed. Besides, it's not hard to figure out what her so-called deal is. Just look at her, do you think those dirty quirkists would ever let her just live her life? Sura growled. No, they have to attack her just because she doesn't fit their standards of what a person should be. What a fucking joke. Alright, so what's your story? Clearly you've got quite the chip on your shoulder. Karaki pointed out. Well, if you insist on knowing. Sura began his long explanation. My parents were quirk rights activists. They fought for those with quirks that were looked down on by this damnable society. Not because they had to, not because they had such quirks, but because it was the right, the noble thing to do. They never stopped fighting until they were killed. They said it was a car accident, but I don't know how the fuck you consider a bullet flying through the driver's window causing the car to spin out of control a damn accident. I knew the police were in on it. Filthy fucking quirkist. From that day on I swore I would spend the rest of my life making them pay. If a quirkist had wings, I'd cut them off. If they could shoot spikes from their arms, I'd cut them off. I'd never kill them because I wanted them to live without their precious powers, regretting their choices until the end of their days, until the end of their pathetic lives. There was a brief moment of silence after that until Karaki eventually spoke. Hey, here's the thing I don't get about the whole avenging dead loved ones thing. Wouldn't they want you to be, I don't know, happy? Come again? Sura asked, looking at her with disbelief. Listen, I didn't know your parents, and I'm not going to tell you how to run your life. But your parents sounded like pretty nice folk, and they probably cared about you, so wouldn't they not want you to be so fucking miserable all the damn time? Karaki asked him. I'm not saying you shouldn't find the people who killed them and stick a sword up their ass, but like, lighten up a little dude, when was the last time you had a conversation with someone that wasn't about maiming people? That's... Sura went silent as she tried to find an answer to that question. While violence is a beautiful thing, it is best not to get lost in it, Pai spoke up. One must take time to enjoy the finer things in life. Good food, music, the likes. You have been brooding in the corner like you think you're fucking Batman for a while now. Yoka pointed out. Sit down for fuck's sake, in a safe place, for now, have a drink, and talk about something you don't hate for 5 seconds. I need some time to think. Sura said as he was about to walk off, only for the TV to suddenly turn on, showing Izuku's cowled form. Immediately, Kaza woke up and became alert, looking at the TV like she was never asleep in the first place. All of you. It's almost time. Izuku told them. Tomorrow at exactly 2:30. You're to enter at the agreed-upon point and take the agreed-upon route. Which one of you memorized it fully? I did, Kaza said. Good, you will be the leader then. Izuku appointed. Prepare yourself and be sober. Failure will not be tolerated. With that, the TV turned off once more. All right, everyone finish all the drinks you can. Karaki shouted. Tomorrow we have work to do. Class 1A was standing outside of Midoriya Foundation gates, looking at it nervously. So, you think this is a meant-to-fail kind of thing like it was with 1B? Kaminari asked. Could be. On the one hand, we actually know what we're getting into. But on the other, that only makes it so much easier. Shinso analyzed. You think we're gonna face the Grim and the bodyguards? Siro asked. Knowing Nizu, almost definitely, Sato said, giving a nervous laugh. We can do this, Achiko assured them, getting everyone's attention. So long as we stick together and think things through, I know we can do this. Uraraka is right. Ida shouted while adjusting his glasses. We have been fighting in a far too unorganized fashion. Should we use our knowledge of the Grim and our strengths, we are bound to succeed. Yeah. Most of the class cheered. Meanwhile, Bakugo was staring at the gate silently. So this is where Deku's been held up. All right, that's enough. Everyone get ready. Aizawa told them. Welcome everyone, Sai said over the loudspeakers. Today you will be assisting us in testing our security system against a major threat. Mr. Midoriya is unfortunately not present today as he had other business to tend to. Regardless, the test will begin the moment you step through the gates. The gates opened up wide, ready for the challengers to step through. You may begin when you are ready, Sai told them. So, what are the odds that she meant that literally and something will attack us as soon as we walk through those gates? Shinso asked. Probably high, Jiro said as she plugged her earphones into the ground. Yup, there's something under there. Todoroki, I think it'd be best if you handled this, Momo said. Todoroki nodded and started walking towards the gate. The moment he crossed, a pair of underground turrets popped up, about to shoot him, but Todoroki made 2 massive spikes of ice that immediately impaled both turrets, destroying them. Kirishima guards our front, Jiro. Shoji keeps an ear out for anything coming at us, Ida ordered. All right, let's go. And with that, the rest of 1A ran through the gates. Sai looked down at 1A as they fought through the Wave 1 Grim through the security room cameras. Good, I was worried they would have fallen for a trick, but it seems like things are progressing smoothly. I'll come and give them a bit more credit than that, Sori said while doing her stretches. They're newbies, not idiots. Yes, it'd be extremely disappointing if the new generation of heroes was so lacking, Tokoshi added. Well, either way, I expect you two to be ready if we have to fight, Sai told them before shaking her head. What I'm saying, of course, you two will be ready for a fight. Speaking ready, where on earth is Giza? Tokoshi asked. He's guarding Mr. Midoriya while he's out on his business, Sai explained. Apparently he's negotiating deals. Redestro liked to think he had an iron will. After all, you would need a lot of willpower to lead a group of revolutionaries. However, it was taking every single ounce of that tremendous willpower to not, for lack of a better phrase, completely lose his shit. Because in his office right in front of him sat none other than his sworn enemy, Izuku Midoriya. The two were in Rikiya's office at the top of the Detonarat Tower, sitting on two separate couches parallel to each other. Mr. Midoriya, what a pleasure it is to have you here, Rikiya said, keeping up his well-trained smiley facade. All the while he clenched his fist so hard he started drawing blood. Oh, how I want to just reach across the table and kill you with my own two hands. No, just one would be enough for a quirkless little upstart like yourself. He thought to himself. But as usual, things can't ever be that simple. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Mr. Yatsubashi, Izuku said with his own smile. I'm afraid I'm quite pressed for time, so excuse me for getting to the point. Of course. Redestro choked out, almost choking on his sheer rage. What brings you here today? I have a business proposition, Izuku explained. Recently, my labs have come up with some rather interesting products. For example, Izuku pulled out a small twig about the size of a hand, put it under the table, and started lifting, and much to Redestro's shock, it started rising into the air. Remarkable, Redestro said as he went into information-gathering mode. How exactly does a small branch do that? The simple answer is chaos energy, Izuku explained as he set the table down. Recently, a new energy was discovered. Energy similar to what quirks give off. A seemingly omnipotent energy that can do nearly anything if you can control it. We've been experimenting with it for months and we've managed to get to the point where we can start giving quirks to plant life, and unlike humans, a plant's quirk is based on what kind of plant it is, and the same kinds of plants will have the same quirk, meaning we can reliably farm them without issue. This branch is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that's still being discovered, and soon we'll make it purchasable by the public. Redestro's eyes widened. No. That bastard. If he does this, then his power and influence will only rise. Damn it. What do I do? And this isn't even what I came here to talk to you about, Izuku said, putting the branch back in his sleeve before taking out a small vial. This is what I wanted to talk about. I see, and this is? Redestro couldn't imagine what it was. If it was better than what he mentioned before, then whatever it was frightening. You see, another thing that we've discovered, something even greater, we can now replicate certain quirks, Izuku said, which caused Redestro's eyes to almost bludge off of his head. And with that technology, we've made this. A cure-all drug. It's capable of rewinding a person's body back to a healthier state, literally whipping diseases out of existence. It's still in its developing stage, but once we complete it, well, I don't think I need to spell out what kind of impact this will have. He didn't. Redestro could barely hide the horror on his face. He knew if Midoriya ever finished this, then he'd be the most powerful man in the world. The most powerful man. A quirkless boy. It sounded like a bad joke, but it was close to becoming reality. His hands started getting covered in the blackness of his quirk. I have to kill him. Right here, right now. Before he can finish the drug. He was close, so close to just throwing the table aside and choking the life out of Midoriya right there and then. But he'd never get away with it. He'd almost certainly gain the attention of the heroes if not get exposed outright. For the sake of the MLA, he had to control himself. After taking a breath, Redestro managed to get his nerves under control. How wonderful! Truly a marvel of technology. Correct, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to attach your name to it. Izuku offered. I'd like you to help fund the research of this drug. I'd get to save some money and you'd get a TON of good PR. What do you say? Interested? Oh yes, I am very interested, Redestro said, saying the most truthful thing he said during this whole conversation. I think we can make some arrangements. Later, Izuku was riding in his car to his next destination, at least that's what it looked like. Giza, what did you find out? Izuku asked, the illusion dissipating, revealing that Izuku had never been there and it was in fact a seer orb and mind weaver combo. Giza appeared next to the seer, having used a mind weaver to cloak himself as well. He was also holding fractal. Specifically, a fractal continuing Yonda's power. They had been going around all day, talking to influential figures under the guise of getting them to fund his project, while Giza used the fractal of secretly reading their minds. Of course, since the fractal could only be used for 10 minutes a day, Giza could only use it in a burst of a few seconds at a time. However, he always chose the most optimal times to use it, reading facial expressions to get a signal of when he should use the fractal's power. He's definitely working with the MLA. Giza told him, as were many of the members of the company. Almost all of them were quirkless. I see, Izuku added them to the list. Well then, I say we go do 2 more before we bring this to a close today. Our enemies may be able to hide from the law, but not from us. Damn, this place is big. Karaki groaned as they continued trudging through the Midoriya Foundation forest. How the hell does a 15-year-old own this much fucking land? Less lip, keep moving, Kaza ordered as she led everyone through the forest. Remember, keep your eyes peeled. We fuck this up, we don't get another chance. Trust me, I know, Tsuba said as he walked. We all do. None of us care to be arrested. Yoku added. Speaking of which, are you absolutely certain that we're going the right way? I have a photographic memory, Kaza explained. I remember that fucking map like it's the back of my hand. Now could you all be quiet while we're sneaking? Seriously, how are you all so loud? Don't you get hangovers? How do you know how much we drank? You were asleep for like half the day yesterday. Karaki asked. I could see the mountain of fucking bottles you idiots left, Kaza explained. Seriously, how do you fit so much fucking booze in such a small body? What can I say, I'm dense. Karaki chuckled. Not sure you should be saying that like it's a good thing, small stuff, Yoka said, also getting a chuckle from that. Seems like they're progressing rather quickly, Sai said as she watched the class take down a pack of sabers. They'll be at level 2 in just a couple of minutes. Sori was looking at the map of the grounds and noticed something. Hey, we focused a lot of the seers over here for this test, but doesn't that mean this area over there is a bit unguarded? I suppose so. Sai was surprised she missed that, even more so that Sori caught it. The security towers should be able to catch anyone intruding, but still I supposed I could send a few more seers over that way. Nah, they're pretty slow, I'm just gonna do a quick patrol myself, Sori said, before running out. Be right back. Huh, she's surprisingly on the ball today. Sai praised. Well, I wouldn't say that. Tokoshi said as he motioned over to Sori's communicator, which she had left behind. Sai facebombed. 1 step forward. 1 step back. Rah! Many Grimm cried out as Todoroki's ice impaled a large group of level 2 Grimm before they could even get close. In truth, most of 1A hadn't seen much action. As Todoroki kinda just soloed everything. They'd take out some strays, but with Jiro and Shoji's detection and Shoto's raw power and range, they were pretty untouchable. At least for now. Aoyama and Bakugo shot some griffins out of the sky, clearing the way for them to move forward. Alright, let's keep going, Achiko said after Todoroki melted the ice. The class ran through the clearing, but Jiro suddenly stopped when she heard some shifting rocks over by the mountainside. Wait, something just moved. Whoosh. Quickly, a hound that was clinging to the side of the rocky cliff revealed itself and shot a fireball toward Jiro. The fireball never hit as Todoroki created a wall of ice in front of her that took the hit. Siro shot out some tape to try and catch it, but the hound jumped off the wall and into the air, growing a pair of wings to stay there so Todoroki couldn't freeze them. Aoyama shot a beam at it, which hit its body, but of course, it just quickly regenerated. Aoyama, keep it from getting too high up, Uraraka, Bakugo bring it to the ground, Ida ordered. I'll do you one better. Bakugo blasted off into the sky towards the hound while Uraraka ran after him. Bakugo quickly reached the hound, which unleashed a stream of fire at him that he easily avoided before counterattacking by unleashing an explosion along the left side of its face, destroying some of its masks. Meanwhile, Achiko had run up the cliff and jumped onto the hound's back before ripping off its head. Todoroki, now? She threw it towards Todoroki, who unleashed a burst of flames at it, incinerating it completely. The hound's body fell to the ground and began fading away as it died. Huh, thought that was gonna be harder, Mina said. Yeah, after seeing what that thing did to 1B I figured I'd give us a hard time, Kaminari added. Well, I mean, they're 1B and we're 1A. Toru bragged. We're better than them, we get it. Let's keep going. Bakugo said as he waited for the group to continue. Well, it seems that Grimm aren't going to be giving them all too much trouble. Sai sighed. Honestly, this just shows how lacking our defenses are in the face of pure power. Not quite, after all, we have some pure power of our own. Tokoshi said as he flexed. Sai rolled her eyes. Well, pure power might want to get a move on because they'll be reaching level 3 soon enough. Ah, thank you for reminding me, Tokoshi said before he bowed and took his leave. The class was quickly notified when they got to level 3 as they were confronted by an army of much stronger foes. Goliaths equipped with machine guns, unloading hundreds of bullets at them, manticores hurling down fireballs, and Bearingless and Geist in rock golem bodies charged at them. Todoroki had put up an ice wall to keep away the bullets and fireballs, but he knew that it wouldn't stop the Bearingless and Geists. Seeing that they were pinned, Momo tried to look for the best way out when she noticed the water that was forming from Todoroki's melted ice. Wait, Todoroki, melt the ice. Kaminari electrocute them. Understood. Todoroki turned the floor in front of him where the Grimm were to ice before using his fire to melt it while Kirishima jumped forward to tank the bullets that were still flying at them. All right. Indiscriminate shock. Kaminari rushed over to the closest part of the massive pool of water and activated his quirk. 1.3 million volts. A powerful wave of electricity ran through the water, electrocuting all the grounded Grimm at once. Aghai! They cried out in anguish. Once the attack finished, the Grimm collapsed, the rock golems the Geists made collapsed, and all of them dissipated into smoke. Whoosh! But the manticores still remained, shooting down fireballs at the teens. Bakugo flew up to the left of the mantiocres and... boom! With one massive explosion, all the manticores were wiped out. And with that, they were clear to go. Again thought this would be harder, Jiro said before a now brain-zapped Kaminari fell onto her. Wei! Kaminari groaned. Geez, I get you're more brain-dead than normally, but get a hold of yourself, Jiro said as she took Kaminari's arm and helped him walk along with the rest of the class. She didn't push him away this time. Progress. Mina thought to herself, satisfied that one of her O.T.P.S was another step closer to becoming reality. The class made it quite a bit farther, taking out any threats along the way rather easily before they encountered the next big threat. Wait, something's ahead of us, I hear a heartbeat. Jiro warned them as they came upon a clearing. Shoji extended one of his eye tentacles into the clearing. It's Tokoshi. He's standing in the clearing. Just waiting. He's that really strong old guy, right? Mina asked. If he's just standing there, then we should be in a good position to set up an ambush, Momo explained. Tokoshi waited. He knew an ambush was going to happen, given the circumstances. It was just a matter of when. Kaboom! Suddenly he was attacked from all angles. Todoroki's fire, Bakugo's explosion, Aoyama's beam, and a cannon shot from Momo impacted Tokoshi at once, creating a massive explosion. The students waited in the bushes for the results as the smoke started to die down. And in the center of a massive crater was Tokoshi, mostly unharmed except for a few burns, and his uniform was torn up and burnt, exposing his ripped upper half. Not bad, I actually felt that, Tokoshi said as he dusted himself off and then cracked his neck. Now then, shall we start this battle properly? Immediately they sprung into Plan B. Achiko charged out of the bushes at full speed and ran past Tokoshi, touching him as she passed, increasing his gravity severely and causing him to start digging into the ground. Todoroki then froze over the hole, trapping the man underground for the moment. All right, everyone, we need to get as far away as possible. Remember, defeating him is not part of our objective. We just need to get to the house. Momo reminded them as they made a run for it. TCH. Bakugo didn't like the idea of running away, but at the same time he didn't feel like falling behind to fight the old man who obviously could take quite a bit of punishment. So he just followed. Pure power, huh? Sai rolled her eyes as she watched 1A bury Tokoshi. Ugh, and they're approaching level 4. And Sori's still nowhere to be found. Guess I'll just have to make an early appearance. Moving quickly and with nothing blocking their way, the soon-to-be false villains made their way to the lab rather quickly. Damn, it's pretty big, Karaki said as he looked up at the structure. How are we supposed to find a ship and all that? We got a map to remember? Kaza pointed out as they all made their way to the entrance when suddenly Kaza noticed a shadow overlapping with hers. Shit! Everyone get back! Everyone jumped back as the hound crashed into the ground in front of them, blocking their path. Shit, that thing looks way scarier in real life, Yoku admitted. Awoo! The hound cried before going on the attack and breathing out a stream of fire at the group. Kaza immediately fired back, breathing out a beam of fire that pierced through the hound's attack and hit it in the face. The hound jumped out of the beam, its face thoroughly burned, but its brain was still intact, so it quickly started regenerating. Slice! Sura slashed the air in front of him and the hound's head, which was a few yards away from him, fell off. Sura had placed the hound's hit space in front of him for the moment. Kaza fired another beam of fire at the hound's decapitated head, but the hound picked up its head and jumped out of the way of the attack before reattaching its head. Whack! Just as it reattached its head, Karaki smacked it in the face with her yo-yo, doing very minimal damage, but that would soon change. Whack whack whack. Karaki smacked it in the head multiple times, each attack doing more and more damage thanks to her quirk, destroying most of its head with ease and disorienting it. Shum. Kaza fired another beam at the hound's head, this time hitting her mark and destroying its head. The team looked at the hound's smoking neck stump, expecting it to die, but much to their horror, it simply started regrowing its head. Shit, it moved its brain. Kaza deduced. Someone pin it down while I charge a bigger attack. Don't let it move an inch. Kan, Miru, get in the lab and find that damn boat, this could take us a while. Suba used his quirk and raised a lot of dirt from the ground, wrapping around the hound and trapping it. Couldn't have done that earlier. Yoku asked as her and Rora ran into the lab. Give me a break, I'm not used to using my quirk. Subu defended himself as he struggled to maintain his hold over the dirt while the hound struggled to escape. However, the hound quickly stopped struggling and soon its body moved through the dirt like a liquid before reforming and charging at the group. Slice. Suri did a sweeping swipe around him and the hound's legs flew off. Now, Karaki said. Kaza flew up into the air and got ready to unleash a beam she had been charging for a while, which headed straight down at the hound, ready to obliterate its entire body. But just as she was about to let it fly, wham! Sori came flying out of the forest and drop-kicked Kaza in the face, causing her to release her beam off to the side, burning the ground it hit and the trees around it. The feline bodyguard bounced off Kaza and onto the ground. Looks like I was right to take a look around. Now then, let's see who's ready for a good old knuckle sandwich. Kaza, Karaki, Suru, and Tsubu felt surrounded. Despite outnumbering their opponents, they could already tell whoever this cat lady was, she was trouble. TCH. You three handle the mutt. Kaza ordered as she rubbed the left side of her face where Sori had hit her. I'll take mittens. You think you can? Sori smirked. Then come at me, Barney. Shum. Kaza unleashed a strong beam of fire at Sori, but she dodged easily, running to the right while followed by the beam. The hound tried to grab Kaza by extending its arms, but they were cut off from their stumps by Suru. Slice, 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 slice. Sura cut up the hound's body, but this did very little to the hound. TCH, its brain is back in its head. Then I'll crack it open. Karaki threw her yo-yo at its head, which it dodged at first, only for the yo-yo to come back and hit it in the back of the head, causing its skull to crack apart. Suba then forced bits of dirt into the cracks, stuffing it to the brim with dirt and then expanding it, causing the skull to explode apart, leaving the brain completely exposed. Sura raised his sword up and prepared to slice the air in front of him where he'd moved Hound's hitbox. The hound raised its arm, blocking the sword in its thickened arm, trapping it. But that only prolonged the inevitable as Karaki hit its brain with her yo-yo, making it splatter all over the place. Gotcha! Karaki shouted out triumphantly. Gah! The victory was short-lived as Sori rushed past Kaza and struck Suru in the neck, causing him to crumple onto the ground, seemingly unconscious. She'd been watching the fight while dodging Kaza's attacks, getting a good handle on their quirks, and figured she needed to take out that guy first. Shit! Karaki threw her yo-yo at Sori, but she just caught it and grabbed onto the rope. Ah! Sori sprung around the rope with Karaki attached to it before launching her way into a tree. Ack! Karaki fell to the ground, having the wind knocked out of her by the harsh impact on her tiny body. Slam! Sori barely managed to backflip away as a fist made of dirt smashed into the ground where she had been standing. Suba raised more dirt and shot it out at somewhat high speeds, but Sori dodged each cluster of dirt and lunged at him once she got close. But before she could reach him, Kaza flew in and grabbed her before lifting her into the air. Kaza grabbed hold of her face as they ascended and aimed her mouth right at it, ready for a point-blank blast. But Sori kneed her jaw shut as she was about to blast, causing the blast to explode inside her mouth, doing a bit of damage and making her choke on the smoke. This gave Sori the chance to grab Kaza's arm, push herself off of her, then flip them so now Sori was on Kaza's back. Whack! Whack! Whack whack! Whack! Sori pounded her on the back of the head as the two continued to fly upward. Kaza used her tail to try and stab Sori's shoulder, but Sori dodged each attempt. But that didn't matter as the worst was to come. Kaza did U-turn and started flying down at astonishing speeds. Kaza turned and had Sori face the ground, meaning that she would be taking the brunt of the impact. Sori knew this, of course, and had to move fast to avoid it. She moved her legs back and used them to grab onto Kaza's tail before pushing herself off of Kaza's back and using her tail to whip her way back onto her front. Kaza grabbed her sides and dug her claws in, causing Sori to wince in pain as Kaza prepared another fire blast, but Sori punched her in the face to interrupt it. Then Kaza flipped them both over so that once again Sori was facing the bottom, but Sori just grabbed her by the neck and flipped them again. This repeated over and over until slam! The two hit the ground, creating a massive cloud of dust. And when the dust died down, Kaza was the one that had taken most of the impact, landing square on her back, with Sori on top of her. Ugh! Kaza groaned as she closed her eyes and went limp. Ow! Sori groaned as she forced herself up on her now extremely sore legs. While Kaza had taken most of the damage from the fall, she didn't get away unscathed. She was fairly sure she'd bruised the bones in her legs, but otherwise she could still go on. Which was good, because immediately she had to jump off of Kaza to avoid another blast of dirt from Tsubu. She dodged some more blasts, her speed hampered only slightly by her injury, but she could still easily avoid all of his attacks, reached him in seconds, and kicked him in the face. Ack! Tsubu spat as she fell to the ground, seemingly unconscious from one blow. Huh, guess I hit him harder than I thought. Sori shrugged as she looked around at all the unconscious intruders. Well, guess I better tie them up or dash. Scope! Suddenly a bullet flew off from the side and pierced right through Sori's leg, coming out as an explosion of paint on the other side. Slice, 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 slice. Then before she could recover from the shock, Sura shot up, activated his quirk and slashed in front of him as quickly as he could, causing various cuts to appear along her body, especially her legs, causing her to fall to the ground. Dirt rose up and kept Sori pinned to the ground as Kaza jumped up and charged up her attack. Grrrr. Sori tried to force herself out of the restraints, but they were simply too strong. Kaboom! Kaza unleashed her attack, hitting Sori's head and enveloping her in a massive explosion. When the dust died down, Sori was still conscious, but just barely. She was badly burnt and injured and couldn't move an inch. All right, that's enough, Kaza ordered, coughing a bit from how much she used her quirk. We're not here to kill anyone. Tsubu, bury her up to her head. Don't leave any leverage. Aye, Captain, Tsubu said half sarcastically as he started manipulating the dirt under Sori to swallow her up. Damn it. Don't think you bastards won? Once everyone else notices I'm gone, they'll find you and finish the job. Sori growled as she was trapped under the dirt, too weak to fight back. Well, hopefully we'll be out of here by then, Kaza said as she stretched, her back still sore from the impact. Sura, good idea playing possum. With speed like that, I had little choice, Suru admitted, rubbing his neck where Sori had hit him. Good thing we had Pai stay back and cover us just in case, Karaki said, also rubbing her injured back. Nice call, boss. As if on cue, Pai came out of the bushes with a sniper rifle she had made from paint. She'd been hiding in the trees, waiting for her opportunity to strike. You're fortunate I am experienced with firearms. Otherwise, this may not have worked. Ugh, how long does it take for them to find a damn ship? Kaza swore. Crash. Suddenly from the very back of the lab, the ceiling burst open and a massive pirate ship flew out of the hole. Whoa! Karaki looked up at the massive, building-sized ship that was currently defying gravity. How the fuck does that work? Tsubu asked as the ship got closer. Ha! Sori was just completely bewildered, not expecting this even in the slightest. Wonderful, Pai said, looking up at it in admiration. The ship flew over them, enveloping them in its massive shadow, enveloping them. A small compartment opened up and a rope came down, signaling for them to climb up. See ya. Karaki said as everyone ran up to the rope and started climbing, except for Kaza who just flew up. When they all went through the compartment and reached a wooden room inside the ship where Roru and Yoko were waiting for them. Sorry for the wait, that lab was enormous. And I had to keep Egghead over here from snooping. Yoko explained. Yeah, well, while you having your fun, we were down there, trying not to get our asses to kick. Karaki growled, glaring at Roru. I'm not sorry. Roru shrugged before jumping off to the side to avoid a yo-yo to the balls. Hey, watch it. I'm the one controlling the ship. Well, then get us out of here already, Kaza ordered as she walked over to the exit. We're still not in the clear, remember? Everyone get on deck and make sure nothing follows us. Meanwhile, 1A was dealing with the level 4 Grim by a lakeside. AP shot. Bakugo shouted as he blasted a focused shot right through the head of a wyvern. Meteor smash. Achiko shouted as she crashed down and crushed the skull of Sei Filong. Heaven-piercing ice wall. Shoto cried as he impaled a Nuklavi on a wall of ice. Indiscriminate shock. 2 million volts. Kaminari cried as he fried a whole group of sulfurfish. Dark shadow. Tokoyami cried as Dark Shadow destroyed a group of apathy that were trapped by Mineta's balls, all the while Momo unleashed cannon shots, Oyama shot off his own attacks, and Mina killed any that got even a little too close. In no time at all the high-level Grim had been exterminated. Bakugo landed while Achiko swam back to shore and Todoroki warmed himself up. Phew. Achiko made it to shore and took a breather. Good work, everyone. Ida praised. It seems even the best the Midoriya Foundation has to offer is no match for us. Don't be so sure, Jiro warned. She's coming. Clap, 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 clap. Sai walked out of the forest, giving the students a slow applause. Well done. I imagine Yami will be quite cross about you defeating his Grimm so easily. And Mr. Midoriya likely won't be pleased about all of this either. What can we say? We're just too good. Mina boasted cockily. We're not the same kids you fought last time. I can see that, Sai said. But I think I want a closer look. Now then, show me your dash. Sai tailed off, and her eyes went wide as she looked up at something behind them. What the hell? Toru asked, revealing herself as having snuck up behind Sai. Everyone turned around to see what exactly caused those reactions. And boy were they not ready. Because in the air was a giant, flying pirate ship. Is that part of the test? Siro asked. Then suddenly the ship simply faded, vanishing completely from sight. No. It was not. Sai grit her teeth, knowing that this could mean nothing good. All right, test is over. Everyone help me search the forest. We need to figure out just what that was all about. All right, we're at a safe altitude, Rora said. All of them were currently in the steering room. In front of them was a big thick glass window letting them see the entire deck of the ship. Behind that was the steering station with a large steering wheel, panels covered with buttons and knobs, and some hanging levers for actually steering the ship rather than Rora just using his quirk to control it. There were also some seats around which everyone was currently sitting on except Karaki, who had her face pressed up against the window with stars in her eyes. Are you certain? Kaza asked him. Positive. No one could follow us without some kind of protective equipment and a lot of help. Roro explained. Even All Might would struggle to get up here, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to breathe. But thanks to the force field, we don't have to worry about any of that. And it makes us practically undetectable anyway, so even if they knew we were up here, they'd have to search the entire sky to find us. Wonderful technology, isn't it? You can say that again. Karaki squealed. We're in a flying fucking pirate ship. We're really fucking sky pirates. This is so fucking awesome. Look how high up we are. Are you sure you're not actually 10? Rora asked, receiving only a middle finger as an answer. Oh, let her have her fun, Roku told her as she got up and walked to the window to get a good view. You have to admit this is rather amazing. Make you wonder how any of this is possible. Such as the power of chaos energy. Everyone looked to the doorway and saw a seer float in with a mind weaver on top of it. And then, in a flash, the mind weaver put up an image of Izuku, making it seem like he was there. Congratulations on your hopefully first of many successes. Izuku congratulated them. And I would also like to apologize about Sori. I didn't expect her to notice you, but it seems like she had a brief moment of insight and decided to do some extra patrolling during the test. But the fact that you managed to beat her only tells me how correct we were when we decide to recruit you. Well, hopefully there won't be any more oversights like that, sir, Yoko said, throwing a bit of shade at that last word. What's next? Kaza asked. Rest. Get accustomed to the ship and relax. Tomorrow I'll explain what I want you to do. Izuku explained. This seer will remain in this room invisible. Use it if you need to contact me, but only if you absolutely must. And don't be surprised if I don't pick up. The nature of our communication and this whole operation must remain a secret. So it'd be best if we contacted each other as little as possible. No offense. None taken, Karaki said, not looking away from the window. One more thing, Izuku said. I've also left some presents for you in your new rooms. I hope you enjoy them. Farewell for now. And good luck. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, share the video, and support the original writer. See you in the next video.